Yeah. Maybe it's the two together. Maybe you set a start time. It's still got the Wheel of Death on it.
Published. Okay, so that should come out now.
Yeah, all right. It's the time. Unless you've got a different video that's going up. You have got no.
Live.
Oh,
Says
that
live.
that looks like us.
Oh.
All right.
Cool.
And how
Good question.
15 minutes.
What are we saying?
Oh no, it's just gone on. So this has just happened, but the picture's already
Started streaming less than 1 minute ago.
Right, well, let's
13 watching.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So it has. We did it. We worked it out. Hello, Egg Chasers. It's the Egg Chasers Rugby Podcast, a podcast about rugby that doesn't take the game too seriously. We are just unbelievable of European knockout rugby in the Champions Cup, in the Challenge Cup. There's other stuff to talk about, and we're going to get into all of it over the next, probably 7 hours. Strap in.
Yeah.
How are you doing, JB?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Good, and well done. We've worked out how to actually start a YouTube feed at the same time that we start.
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe find out, but yeah, good enough.
Baby steps. And Phil, how you doing?
Hello, very good, thank you, Tim.
Hello. Hello to Hayden. Hello to Otis, who are on the live feed on YouTube. Yeah, we do that on a Sunday night. So, it's Monday, isn't it? On a Sunday night normally.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if Graf just watches Line of Duty and you haven't got into it, then,
You're not into Line of Duty?
I've never watched it.
I'm not into this season of Line of Duty. And you got to remember, Line of Duty is nothing about the story. Storyline's rubbish. Everything's rubbish. It's all about Ted. All about Ted.
So I've watched the first 2 seasons of it, and I couldn't stick with it just because I think some of the overarching storyline is really, really good. But the certainly in the first 2 seasons, the character dialogue and the interactions between the characters.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
It is awful. And
Nate.
the main guy who's supposed to be like a hard nut cop investigating cop.
Ed Mercurio, is that the guy? Is that the one who everyone talks about?
I don't know.
No, Steve Arnott is
Steve- yeah,
is going to be my
DCI
hunk.
DCI Arnott. I don't know if I don't know the name of the actor who plays
Not
him.
a hunk.
I don't know if Jed Mercurio is the name of an actor or a name of a character. I've got no idea.
No, the main guy he's from Northern Ireland, and I think Northern Ireland is, if you're going to do a UK cop show, your main hard guy or your main cop has to come from Northern Ireland. They is better than anyone. Like the guy, he was the cop from Peaky Blinders. No, the hard.
I haven't seen that show.
I have not seen
No.
Peaky Blinders either.
People from Ulster make the best hard
Oh.
cops.
Like McCloskey.
Exactly.
McCloskey would be a tough cop.
It's just the accent. You know that they mean business.
Guy Stockdale.
Exactly.
Jared Payne.
Yeah.
Right, we are at Rugby Podcast on Twitter. He's at J Beardmore. Looking in your DMs. We're on YouTube, where we put video up through the week as a podcast, which, well, ordinarily every single Monday morning, an exception on this particular occasion because we're recording
holiday.
on bank holiday, which out today. Americans don't have Good Friday or Easter
yeah.
Monday as bank holidays.
Did they not?
As federal holidays, sorry, I should say.
Yeah, they get very, very few standard holidays in America.
So apologies to our American listeners who've been waiting an extra 24 hours, as they let us know about. But yeah,
And apologies to him for talking about a TV show that they've seen.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have so much rugby to talk about, but I first think that we should just touch on the fact that rugby returned in the last
Yes.
levels.
It
So
did.
JB, you would have had a training session at Didsbury Tock H. I took my lad along to
Oh, did ya?
to his first rugby session last Wednesday night.
Although he's not so many now, is he? What are they playing?
No, well, yeah, I don't know what's under 13s.
I think it's under 13s.
Junior. Did it go mini junior?
It might be in
Colts?
juniors.
Yeah, I think he's junior now, yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know.
You'll have 3 years of juniors and 16s, you go to Colts, don't you? So before you know it, Colts.
Whatever it is, he loved it, and they got absolutely flogged. And it was nice to see a lot of numbers down there, but
Good.
and not believe the amount of cars that were parked up everywhere. It was great to see, and the amount of pitches that were full, but of football matches happening.
Yeah.
Which is a worry. That's a worry. Rugby's a long way off actual games returning. That there are football matches going on all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a worry. I would just say this, like, Park where you'd have gone has always had like 3 rugby pitches and 26 million football pitches. So it's just one of those things. It's easier to. You don't need to be as dedicated. Yada 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 yada. I won't worry about it too much. However, listen to this. So I went to rugby training on Tuesday. Now, putting aside the fact that rugby training was absolutely awesome, like it usually is at Talk H.
You were coaching, of course.
I was.
Oh, you
was
not?
running about. I was running about like a deer. Well, we play in Fallowfield, right? In Fallowfield Park. We don't play there, but we play 3G surface, Rubicrum. And on the outside of it is this bank. So the bank must be, it's definitely over 6 foot because you can't see over the edge of it. And I ran to training, and as I was running there, I started. Yeah. Well, it's more of a sprint.
I ran to training.
Yeah. It's more of a continuous 7 kilometre sprint. As I got there, I noticed more and more young people who, looked relatively well dressed up, I should say.
Yeah.
And by the time that I got training, even though there's this little bank and you can't see anyone, you can just see each other, we could hear nothing, absolutely nothing except for music, people talking. We could hardly. There were points where it was genuinely hard to talk to each other. Because, it turns out on the other side of this bank, 3,000 people.
Wow.
3,000 people in Fallowfield.
Doesn't get amongst it.
Do you know what? I did ask, shall we just go? I mean, I thought, no, it'd be...
Sack off.
Hello, fellow students. So we didn't do that.
Just the people that are watching, I apologise if the audio is cutting in and out, and hopefully the audio hasn't just cut in and out as I've been saying the audio's cutting out. That would be ironic.
It wouldn't it just?
We will work it out, but I think we might need to get a different bit of kit than that.
That's not the problem. That's the problem in the Wi-Fi range.
Oh, okay.
So the Wi-Fi extender.
All right. Well, we're working on it, but be patient with us.
In terms of training,
yeah,
I'm going to training Monday.
What? Who's training?
I'm going to Rugby Tots.
Oh, are you?
Wow.
For Thomas.
Wow.
Is he old enough for that? Because I've been looking at Rugby Tots for bloody ages.
Yeah, Wilmslow Rugby Club are doing a little 7-week. It is Rugby Tots is the brand.
Awesome.
No idea what it'd be like, but I think it'd be quite good fun.
You've got him a little full kit of any
he
description?
Gets sent a kit as part of this, but I might see if I can. He's got an old England kit, but from when he was like 9 months old. So it won't fit him now.
Are you going to prepare him for it? What?
I'm going to prepare him mentally.
Like shouting at him?
Yeah.
Telling him he's worthless?
Doing that.
Yeah.
Pointing out all of his major flaws all of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Very loudly and aggressively.
Yeah, do it in front of his friends too.
How much did you enjoy this round of 16?
Bloody good,
Which we never get. It's quarter final after the pool stages due to the. And as an experiment, would you prefer to see it again in future?
Damn right. Look at the scores.
Yeah.
Just look at the scores.
I would be happy to have this because I mean, under normal circumstances, a pool of 4. So you play each of the other 3 teams. You play them home and away. So you've got 6 fixtures from the pool stage. It feels like a lot of fixtures that are, by the end of it, kind of dead rubber fixtures. So I would much prefer shorter pool stages and straight into knockouts.
We are thinking alike, Phil, because I was going to say, and I think the beauty of this is I can explain it in a couple of sentences. My structure for the Champions Cup idea, which is such a good idea, they will never do it. 8 pools of 3. So
so 24 teams.
24 teams, you get one each of the 3 leagues in, so you have no replication of domestic games, which is a bonus.
Good, well done, nice.
And then, you can see the way it's drawn. There'll be a clever way you can do that. But effectively, 8 pools, 1 team from each league in it. Top team at the end of 2 home and away games, which would have so
home
time.
Yeah.
Because 1 team wouldn't play, so you get more rest. You get more rest weeks.
Yeah. So there'd be 6 weeks of game weeks, but you'd only play each team would only play 4 games in the 6 weeks. Yeah.
So you would have,
which is good for.
So weekend we've just had where you have 8 games. It's enough that you can make a big feel it full weekend, but not so many that you end up missing loads.
Yeah.
So you get 6 weekends of 8 games, or no teams that you already see them play against. So you get the special bit of the Champions Cup. Top team gets a home round 16 match. Second place gets an away round 16 match. Third place
go into Challenge
Cup, and then get to the quarterfinals. It's just an open draw like the FA Cup.
Oh
Very
wow!
nice.
So
And semi-final.
So no predetermined seeding.
Because-
so you're straight into it.
Because you got the top 8 teams, and you've earned the right to be there.
Yeah. Would you then have home and away? Sorry for the quote. If you're having no seeding, would you have home and away?
Well, you could do a seeding thing.
Although I don't think
suppose.
home and away works very well for rugby.
No, I don't think it works well
I mean,
for
what
rugby.
would Racing do with Edinburgh? You know, like
They
56-3.
Yeah, they've put 50 points. Some of the other games could be nice, but yeah, I prefer not. It's just the I think no seeding suits better home and away, whereas seeding, if you have seeding, the better seeds, higher seeds will deserve. They've earned the home
Yeah.
games.
You could do some seeding, but what I like about it is it's less but higher quality games, less dead rubbers,
Yeah,
no replication of domestic matches,
yeah.
and
Until later on in the tournament.
and none of that best runner-up thing. It's just
Yeah,
top team gets a home tie, second place gets an away tie.
Yeah,
yeah,
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. So I like this round of 16. I thought it was
Yeah.
cool.
yeah,
It was awesome.
yeah. I'd definitely have more knockouts.
So I guess we'll start with Leinster Toulon because
Or I was there for the.
well, there was a weird feeling. How did you find out?
Well, you won't be surprised to hear that the rugby wasn't very.
That's not the game that I know.
So I no word of a lie. Right, bearing in mind, BT Sport is the main broadcaster for the UK and Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
You would think somebody from the governing body of the sport line of communication with your broadcaster as things like this are unfolding.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
I was literally, before I did a little hit with Brian O'Driscoll, I was scribbling down on a bit of paper, and to the point that I could barely read what I'd written because I was crossing stuff out and writing it down. Up to about 30 seconds before I was live, I was scribbling down stuff from tweets that were being put out by EPCR to Leinster. I had absolutely no idea until everyone else had any idea.
Staggering.
Yeah,
That's absolutely staggering. So you didn't know until how long before kickoff?
Well, the decision was made at 1:30 p.m.
And who is making these decisions then?
Well, so what happened was Monday, all of the players from Toulon and Leinster had their routine COVID tests,
Mhm.
yeah,
all negative. On Wednesday, they have one Toulon player, a front rower, not a French international player, so it didn't have a knock-on effect for other French teams, had a positive test. They contacted EPCR, who said isolate them at home and travel.
yeah.
Fine.
So the rest of the squad travelled on the Wednesday, Thursday.
Rest of the squad and staff travelled on the Thursday.
Yeah.
A COVID test in the whole squad. All came back negative.
Yeah,
And then on the Friday, by 1:30 p.m., the game had been cancelled. And as I understand it, the Irish were involved in that decision
Wow.
and said to Toulon, it's about the contact tracing, so the people that have had close contact. So in the case of Toulon, it was all the front rowers, all 6 of the front rowers that they took with them were the ones that couldn't play. And as a result, they said that the Irish government's suggestion was you can play the game on Sunday if you replace all 6 front rowers.
Jeez. well,
wow.
it's just like,
So you're down to you ruled out 7 front rowers.
Yeah.
You'd have to get 6 who are at that point in time on Friday over in France to fly to
imagine
Dublin.
tucking into, I don't know, what are they, like croissant and eggs on Friday and you get a phone call. You're up. What? Like some academy prop.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that's relevant in this discussion is that, do you remember the Scarlets game in the pool stage between when Toulon went to
Yes, when that was Toulon who cancelled it, wasn't it?
Well, yes. So EPCR's rules say that the team with the positive COVID test are the ones that forfeit the game, hence Leinster progress to the quarter-finals. Back in the pool stages, Toulon go to Scarlets and find out on the day of the game that a player in the squad got a positive test and has isolated, but Toulon were not satisfied that the people that have been affected by the contact weren't isolated as well, and that some of them were on the field. Consequently, Toulon said it's not safe to play,
Yeah.
Well,
and
you know,
Scarlets got awarded the points.
I guess you can't.
No. Just to be
Yeah.
clear, Scarlets got awarded the points. So all I'm saying is, followed the rules this time. Now they've been clarified, but Toulon, same thing happened before, and we lost. This time the opposite happened,
And we
we
lost.
lost.
Yeah.
So they feel hard done.
I don't blame them, but on the other hand, I don't really blame the Irish government for doing this. I mean, they're not very
Yeah.
far advanced with their vaccinations. Guess it is a risk for them because they've just not got the right.
It's a PR game as well, isn't it?
So yeah, what you do, and then message out to the rest of your population. That's one rule for another for another. So
Yeah,
sad.
no, I totally agree with that.
And do you know what this about this really? The rugby I was looking forward to so much are obviously the best that the Pro 14 have to offer, and they're the only ones left in, I think, from the. Toulon are interesting because just looking through their team, they've completely reinvented themselves. They are now full of French international stars. So I think they might have been bigger back in the day on our shores because we knew all the names. But you look at they've got the French captain, they've got the backup scrum half, they've got all of these lads.
And Etzebeth and Tafafanua in
Yeah.
well.
Tafafanu's ace. Etzebeth's pretty good too. I've heard.
I've heard he's all right.
Yeah, academy lad, right? So they are a serious proposition now. I'd love to have seen that game, but
They're not doing very well in the top 14. I don't think they're a team yet, but they're a team on a journey.
on a journey, indeed.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe well in the top 14 because I don't know. The top 14 is awesome.
Because there's a few good teams.
There's one or two, isn't there?
There's 5 who've made it through. Obviously, Toulon didn't, but 5 other French teams have made it through to the quarterfinals, and they played some nice stuff here and there.
Yeah.
So which games did you watch this weekend, Phil?
Most of them. I watched the Gloucester La Rochelle. I watched Wasps. I watched Munster. I watched Exeter. I caught the second half of Racing, but I don't know why I bothered. I watched Bordeaux, and I only saw bits of Sale Scarlets.
Well, luckily, I watched the Sale game with quite some interest.
I'm always kind of relaxed about missing the Sale game because I know if I don't cover it in depth, you might be able to do some of the heavy lifting.
Well, I guess the most important game of all these then would be the La Rochelle game. How did La Rochelle go?
La Rochelle, it was an interesting game. It was a bit cagey, and Gloucester's defence was holding well. Hugo Monyu kind of praised the Gloucester defence. Well,
no.
Literally as he La Rochelle burst through and scored a 40-metre try. La Rochelle, they've got some power. They've got some firepower in their outside backs. Or they're as really Bottier and Raymond. Quad, they're huge.
They're not bad, are they?
France have just got a ridiculous
Explosive.
number of steppy wingers. Retier
Yeah,
for La Rochelle is another
Retier.
one, but there's so many in the weekend.
Yeah, Villiers, who we didn't get to see
Yeah.
for Toulon, is a big one. Obviously, Colby is.
Dan for Toulon
Gordon.
as well.
Labelle,
Yeah.
the young
he looks good.
Toulon player.
So Stuart Barnes was saying in the Times game. So Stuart Barnes said it was a masterclass of halfback play. I don't know if you picked up on that. He said I think he referred to it as one of the best bits of halfback play that he's seen in a long time. And
Any specific bit?
the passing apparently of Kerbala was meant to be absolutely outrageous.
Kerbal and Yahya West are lovely halfbacks, lovely composed halfbacks who get kind of the best. But I was before the game. I was expecting La Rochelle to do a number on Gloucester, and it was closer. Gloucester put in a better performance than I was expecting. La Rochelle, even though they've got all that firepower, they struggled to break them down at times. So I think Sale will have a chance going there.
You mean they'll have a chance? They'll have more than a chance.
Well, they went to La Rochelle a few years ago and couldn't live with them, but
yeah, but
they didn't have the pack they've got now.
But I believe they also played lads like James Williams at 12.
Yeah.
So they went with a slightly lighter. Hang on, was that the home game or away game? Because
They played them away in the knockouts.
Yeah, is that knockouts?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so they went with not a weakened squad as such, but maybe not their absolute top team for some reason. I don't know why that was, but I remember that game. Looking at these two teams, I think Sale have got more than a chance. Although I do love Danny Prusso. I think he's just like a superhero.
Danny Prusso is wicked. Lavani Bottier. I mean, Lavani Bottier is the argument. I've never been totally convinced, but he is the argument to give Sam Simmons a try in the centre.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The bench of La Rochelle impressed me. Like what's his name? The guy who plays 10 for France.
Plisson was
Jules
on the bench.
Plisson.
Gregory.
You don't describe. You don't describe Jules Plisson as the guy who plays 10 for France. You describe him as the guy that Courtney Law folded in half.
Yeah. Yes.
And Demaru, that's one on that.
Dumaru,
who's absolutely class.
and you can bring on Antonio to shore up the scrum as well.
Yeah, that will be a tasty encounter.
And Ronan O'Gara has come out of the weekend with a lot of credit.
Yeah, so David Flatterman tweeted, if I had unlimited money, I would want to buy a team to put Ronan O'Gara in charge.
Yeah.
Is that a justified comment?
Well, they're second in the top 14.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing very well. And I think it was mainly the reason he was saying that, and why a lot of people are giving him a lot of credit, is he just spoke so brilliantly, as he always does. But he just spoke so brilliantly after the game. He's got a very clear philosophy of how he wants to play, and he can communicate that, and he's willingly communicating it on TV, which suggests to me that he's also implementing that with his team with pure clarity.
I think La Rochelle have played Sale a couple of times.
Yeah,
I'm just
they
going back in, I've seen Ronan O'Gara coach his team because I was right next to him at the AJ Bell. Him, John Gibbs, and there was another guy there, and they were losing their mind, absolutely losing it. So it's interesting that he came across so well, because I actually thought when they came over to the AJ Bell, I wasn't that impressed with how they carried themselves. Not that you can tell much about that, but they were certainly very, very animated about what was going on for 80 minutes.
I can't remember what acronym he used, but he just used 3 letters,
ROG.
and it stood for like
ROG.
I'll tell you what it was. KBA. He went KBA. Keep ball alive.
I mean, sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, they do look. Credit to Gloucester, because sound a bit patronising because they lost at home, but
Pat him on the head. Well, good try. There's your medal for effort.
this La Rochelle team is significantly better than the Gloucester team on paper, and Gloucester made it very tough for them. And young George Barton is just a kid, and I mean, at the start of the season, he would have been, I don't know, 3rd or 4th choice.
Yeah.
He played well.
Trial by fire.
But this is trial by fire. But he's got the best team around him.
Yeah.
He's got Chris Harrison, Atkinson in the centres. He's got Willie Hines feeding him balls inside him. He's got Johnny May on one wing. He's got the people around him to give him the opportunity to learn. Whereas when he kind of first got blooded into Europe earlier in the season, they got beat by, I can't remember who it was. Was it put 50 points on them?
But then he came off the bench and scored the winning try, beloved Ulster.
Yes, he did. He did that as well.
Yeah, so I've got multiple thoughts on this team. Originally, I was going to say I don't know if I'd have done this because I want to concentrate on the league, but we don't need to anymore, do we? So I would have done this.
There is no point concentrating unless you can get top 4 like Quins did.
Yeah.
There's no point concentrating on the league.
No. So unlucky, because that is basically like Gloucester's last competitive game now.
Yeah.
For your season.
God, that's depressing thought.
Yeah, all over. So they may as well play the Pro 14. Wasps.
I felt sorry for Wasps.
They've got something about. I do like Wasps. I just like the way that they play, their pluckiness, the fact that their players carry on performing no matter what, and to lose like they did was horrendous.
Yeah. To lose that late into the game, when you've been leading the whole game, and deservedly so. It wasn't fluke that Wasps were leading. They played really well, and they matched Clermont almost right across the park.
Lovely feat by Bassett.
That was awesome.
It's like he's defying physics.
Yeah, that was absolutely awesome. Clermont team is no joke. This Clermont team is right through the team. Even like if you talk about good halfback play, you got Bezzy and Camille Lopez, and then you bring on Morgan Parra to just kind of settle things down and control things with the experienced head. They can bring guys like Rabah Slimani and Perseli Yato off the bench.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
That is crazy.
But I thought the best player was George Moala for for Clermont, who is just such a handful going forward. And there's other guys who are absolute nightmares, like Raka, like Pano, like Matsushima, who was awesome as well. But Moala was just so hard to stop.
Yeah, I wonder how this result affects Wasps going forward, because they're on a bit of a bad run of form at the moment. They had the Newcastle win. Other than that, there's very few bright spots, and I think a win against Clermont would have been exactly what they needed to launch back into league.
Yes, it would, but equally, it would have meant they have to really go for it in a quarterfinal next week. In a funny way, in terms of receiving their season, I don't think Wasps had 4 straight performances in them to win that trophy.
No, they're not going to win that trophy.
So maybe if you're looking at silver linings, maybe playing that well against such a good team and then having a week off before your next Premiership game might actually build a platform that they can then use. Moving forward.
I can buy into that, because they were the better team for a long period, and it's only the last second when Matsushima scores, and with the pressure on Camille Lopez slots that conversion, that it actually mattered. Game fell away.
With the performance of Wesley Fofana, I didn't watch him close for the man.
I do like Fofana. It was more about Peno and Matsushima. Fofana is an amazing player, but he's in the kind of twilight of his career. He can still do a job, but he doesn't have that explosivity that he once had.
Moala's a beast.
Moala was so hard to stop, and Peno. I mean, Peno for I think it was the first try, the Bezzy try.
Was that the one where they went like basically the whole length of the pitch?
Yeah, it went from their own 22 basically, and Peno basically gets it's a flatline defence. He's up against Adogru, and he just kind of stands him up and goes around the outside of him like Adogru wasn't there.
He's an incredible specimen, Peno. As in, no, sorry, that's not right. He doesn't have an incredible build. Far from it. He looks basically like an accountant. Like he's so slender, and yet he does so many good things.
He looks almost like a 400-meter runner type build. He's obviously bigger than that.
Yeah, he glides around, but he just makes people miss.
And he's very, very strong as well. I mean, if you wanted to maybe ask a question as to why Doggers didn't get an England cap, England 13s were dropping like flies. Basically, in that try, Doggers came into the line. He had a man outside him, so he was effectively defending in the 13 channel, and Peno just stood him up and went around the outside of him.
You're not allowed to say anything bad about Adogru. That's the rules of rugby Twitter and stuff at the minute.
Is that right?
But you better not find out. If anyone finds out, you've just said anything, any suggestion why Adogru any England caps by now, you're going to get roasted.
I was not aware of that rule.
Adogru will be playing for Italy later this year. Yeah, I am fairly confident.
I hope he does.
I hope he has a very long and very successful.
So do I
love Adogru. His attacking ability is amazing, and he's such a unique player.
Yeah.
But watch that try again. He was the class of Peno shone through.
Just when you were talking about Clermont a minute ago, it reminded me of something that I've forgotten to bring up on the podcast. But it's going back to nearly the start of March. But sometimes, Phil, when you get very excited about certain plays and certain players, well, in this case, the review of this was, I really enjoyed this bit of broadcasting from Phil. You can hear the lump in his throat / tremble in his knees. Wonderful stuff.
Oh.
He's a ludicrous specimen. He is so massive and explosive. So huge, muscular.
I know exactly. Tuisova. Oh, what Tuisova?
Who they didn't play ridiculously.
Where is he?
Came off the bench, didn't he? No.
He didn't start. Whether he came off the bench or not, I don't know, but he definitely didn't start.
Where is Tuisova?
He's at Lyon.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So I have speculation that it would take Tuisova to start this game in order to win it. They may.
You could have had 15 Tuisovas. You need 15 Tuisovas to have won this game.
I mean, there's not really much to say about this other than, yes, Lyon went up quite early, but then they just got absolutely obliterated by Baxter. And I did think Exeter were going to struggle for form. That was my prediction.
And you were absolutely right. They did. I think Rob Baxter's own assessment on 60 minutes was, by the time Exeter by this point had won the game and were extending their lead, or were just starting to move away. And Rob Baxter said, we played like a team, wasn't quite in form and hadn't integrated back in. And he was the only worry he had, much as you're talking about, is have the game in the bank, sorry. And Rob Baxter was worried about that, but he said, fortunately, we've got it together within the 80 minutes.
Yeah. Well, interesting thing, actually, about this format of the European competition and what it makes teams do. So I've been saying quite a lot recently about the Premiership and how you need your squad to win the Premiership, not just your first team. Well, every team that has played in European competition this week, with the exception of maybe one, have all put out absolute strongest teams, including Exeter. They can't afford the risk of losing this game.
Yeah.
So it makes everyone come out the woodwork. So yeah, best team, because if they, you get one chance and that's it, gone.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult for them to reintegrate lads in the order they would like to. I suspect they would have liked to have integrated them all, but much slower than this.
Had a game or two before they get into this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
and they could have done last week, but they chose to basically rest their entire first team and play a second team against Gloucester, which cost them the game, albeit they've earned the right to do that in the league. But this was their strongest team.
Yeah.
I think if subject to maybe a couple of injuries, but I think this is it. This is the strongest team they could possibly have.
53 points? 47. But like 47 points against Leon is, I mean,
yeah.
When we're talking about them, they weren't quite at their best, and they've got room for improvement. That Exeter fans with a lot of confidence going.
Yeah.
Pretty rapidly after
the wake up. Well, he's 14 points down after 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it would have been 100 points had Leon kept scoring at that rate. The way that Exeter did it as well, they did the Exeter stuff, two Johnny Hill tries and other crash over tries when they build the. But they also did it out with a back. Their own rule that yes, you can stop us if we're going to be putting the pressure on even more or the but opportunity for the likes of O'Flaherty and Woodburn, who Woodburn has not been playing his best for the last. I think 6 months. He had a bad injury last season. Yep. He's taken some time to get back to form. He was awesome. Woodburn was absolutely
he's so good as well, isn't he?
He's so good under that. So good defensively. He's such a good runner. His break and then pass for the O'Flaherty try is just superb.
A few weeks ago, we did people in rugby that let Tab Burn go. Tab Burn?
Tyburn.
Burn. Burn. Who's the other one that we did?
Adogwu.
Thacker,
Harry Thacker.
Lewington. We did loads. I can't think.
Well, maybe one of the most obscene ones was a dual release of both Ollie Devoto and Ollie Woodburn. And instead of going, like, usually released, it's for a lesser team, so a team that people perceive as being below.
Or it's because someone's willing to pay the money you can't afford. Like Cam Redpath will have got much more money from Bath than he would have got a Sale. But
Exeter still had to go down.
Exeter would have got Ollie Woodburn at a very, because Bath. It wasn't that he moved to Exeter.
And Ollie Devoto at the same time.
Yeah.
Ollie Woodburn, the year he moved, I think he got either most improved player or his player.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Exeter go, we'll have him, and on their way, looks to me as if they're on the way to a second final, I would say.
Well, they're playing Leinster.
Maybe
they're
not.
At home to Leinster. Now that will be an interesting game.
Well, maybe second Premiership final. There you go.
Well, the thing that would give me a lot of confidence were I an Exeter fan. They let their power game work so well against Leon, who are massive.
They're all big boys.
Yeah.
Big boys.
They absolutely pummeled them in the scrum. Like Chocky was walking backward. He was on ice skates towards the end of the game. She's, And I think it's that thing. Exeter bring on a whole new front. Thomas Francis come on and just...
And Jack Yendall.
And Jack Yendall.
Awesome.
I've spoken about this before.
We've got this.
And I want to talk about it again. But I think we're going to see a change in the way that rugby is played in the back row. I am certain of it. So if you think about the traditional 6-7-8, throw it out the window now. It's gone.
And that would be 7, the link-up man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the smaller.
Fetcher,
Link-up man,
Jackler.
Fetcher, Jackler. 6, massive defensive player, huge man.
Deals with eights.
Number 8, ball carrier skills.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be your thing, right? And you know,
The archetypal would be the England 2003.
yes,
with
think about that. That's
Back Hill,
100%.
Delalio.
Well, I think now Exeter is the way forward, which is these just mutant 6s and 7s.
Because Vermaelen and Ewers are enormous.
Christ, I mean, like think about Sale point of view, for instance. Not that that's the automatic place to go, but Sale put a Dupree on either side of that flank, and your pushing power in the scrum has just gone up. I mean, I'm not saying that Tom Curry is weak, but Tom Curry has also played 8.
Yeah.
So you put your Fetcher to 8 now, generally speaking, during your scrums or indeed defensive scrums, and then you've got these enormous units either side of your second rows pushing the props forward. You don't need Weenie Antonio because you've got an extra 16, 17, 18, 19 stone man linked onto your prop. I am certain that is the way forward.
With a much bigger, heavier 6 and 7. And then your fast guy
So
as your 8.
either have your explosive fast guy or your Fetcher, or in this case, Sam Simmons, he does a bit of both.
He does both.
I mean,
yeah. Ben Earl's another one.
Ideal for that. So that's where I'd work my back row. Exeter got that from Tok H. We've got 2 enormous
What
ones.
position are you? Are you flank at the moment?
I was tied prop. I don't know what I'm going to be when I return. Second row, hopefully.
'Cause
Flanker.
what do you weigh at the moment?
97 today.
Okay.
Creeping back up.
So you're bulking again for the rugby
Yeah, you are
season.
bulking.
No.
I'm less than you now.
I'm getting fat.
I'm 94 kgs now.
Yeah, I'm desperately trying to get on to 90 and I'm going up.
Just a brief interlude to say one thing that never ceases to amaze me is how lucky we are with the audience we have at Egg Chasers. The talent, the caliber
Oh,
Yes.
of people that listen, that are willing to offer their experience, their thoughts, their expertise.
in other areas of
Oh my god, yeah, because we're talking like there's literally like brain surgeons, nuclear physicists.
Can I tell you one which happened to me? I might have been this week, but it could have been last week. So if it's last week, I apologise. Idiot Phil over there, might have been me, described the Ever Given as when we take the containers off the Ever Given, it increases its buoyancy, and hence we can float it off down. Incorrect.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
I think that might have been your point.
Well, I don't know. Maybe 50-50. Maybe 50-50.
So taking the containers off of the Ever Given would not enable it to be moved.
No, it would sit higher in the waterline, but it would decrease its buoyancy. Buoyancy is, although I don't believe he's a naval architect.
Well, is it like Newton's?
No, so the more weight it has on it, the further down the waterline it goes, the more water it displaces. Hence, the more buoyant it is.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But anyway, the point is, he knows all these things and I
Yeah.
don't, and that's the point I'm trying to make.
Anyway, so there are lots of people that have things like that, but equally, we just get messages. Someone's clearly watching the YouTube video. James Dunn has sent us a little DM on Twitter saying, if the Wi-Fi in the rugby dungeon is the issue, I'd recommend powerline adapters which use your wiring to pass an Ethernet signal. If the basement is on the same circuit as wherever his router is, and he's sent you a little Amazon link,
Oh, thank you.
something like this is a simple and cheap solution. So there we go.
It's not on the same circuit, I'm afraid.
Different thing. So you can then
But
use.
we do have a Wi-Fi engineer on the case.
Okay.
Yeah. We need
Right.
to look at the solutions.
Yeah. So just if you are watching the YouTube video, or you go back and watch it while the audio cuts out a few times, we are just the 3 of us making it up as we go along. Hopefully that's part of the charm of this podcast, and
Charm.
we appreciate
Inverted commas,
your
charm.
patience with it. We're on the case. With your help, we're on the case. Exeter, I was very, very impressed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah. This was a classic Exeter performance.
Yeah, there's something I really love about that 5 metre game, and a lot of people malign, but the work they do to get in those positions is outstanding.
Yeah.
People who malign it just they're the same crew that bemoan kicking. Like, there is such a thing as pointless kicking, but very rarely do pro teams. They just hoof it up in a panic. Like there is a plan. The kick chase, the 5 meter pick and drive. These are all integral parts of the game. And if you don't understand them, and you don't appreciate them, then you basically don't really appreciate rugby.
But the rugby that Exeter play to get to those positions is always awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's like
They don't pick and go from 60 metres out, do they? They play some great rugby.
although I'm sure I've seen them try it from like the 22.
Pick and go.
Yeah, they'll pick and go, and they'll get a bit of luck, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it again. And before you know it, in the 5 metres, we'll go and pick our go, pick and go again then.
84 phases in.
Yeah, it is. But I think, player, it is one of the most enjoyable things to score one of those tries.
Yeah.
Bar none. That and pushover try are the two most enjoyable ways to score a try. More so than a maul.
More so than an 80-metre interception.
Doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right. It happens.
Interceptions less so. A little beautiful backswing. Like Simmons, I think it was against Harlequin. Sam Simmons scored from about 40 metres.
Game of the season.
Did he go around Nathan Earl? I think.
Did he?
He just carved through the middle and gassed everyone, yeah.
Line out move, burst through the middle, and then step and gas. That is awesome. That kind of try.
Yeah.
It's not pick and go. But yeah, I take it. I take your point. It is nice.
You have to ask Sam Simmons because, I mean, he scored a few pick and goes and he scored those 40-metre wonder tries.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll hand this over to Tim now because you were at the Munster-Toulouse game.
Do you know, I felt so lucky to be there
I bet you did.
at that game. It was... Okay, so I felt really, really lucky to be there. I could not stop thinking the whole time I was there, I'm so gutted there's not fans here.
Yeah. I bet Munster were gutted there weren't fans there.
If there were fans there, Munster sneak that game, they win that game.
Yeah.
I've no doubt.
Do
I've
the
no
Munster
doubt.
fans increase the Munster score or decrease the Toulouse score?
Ooh, good question.
That is a good question. I don't think Munster could have increased their score much. They took every single chance they had, pretty much.
Yeah.
They played really bravely. They just man for man weren't quite good enough, but they played really, really well, particularly after a really dodgy performance in the Pro 14 final.
Munster strike me as its sort of team who are incredibly competent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they get
they
more.
have great talent.
They've got great talent, but they get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Pro 14 final live. I did watch it in preparation for the game at the weekend, and against Leinster, Munster just played inside themselves. And I asked Johan van Graan before the game, like, this is, you're playing Toulouse, you know the threat they pose and the danger. Do you feel you're going to have to open up a bit? And he sort of played that a bit cagey, when it's on. But they definitely did open up more. And I think that's the way for Munster to go. They've got to have a crack and roll the dice because they're good. When they play like that, they're really good.
I like how aggressive that they can be. They can really take it to people with Delande. I think Farrell is at ace too. I love, surprise, I love big physical centres.
I mean, that is as big and physical as any centre combination in the world. Yeah, they're huge.
They are. And Gavin Coombs is a boy.
Yeah.
He is good.
Because those two crash over tries against that Toulouse pack, that's no joke doing that.
So they really took it to him, and I felt incredibly sorry for them losing in the way they did. That said, I mean, two French teams we see go away and sneak wins.
3?
Which is quite un-French.
No, it wasn't a sneaking.
Quite un-French.
The two we saw, La Rochelle.
Oh, it was
Clermont.
Toulouse.
Yeah, Clermont Toulouse sneak. And La
Is
Rochelle.
there anything of any note to say about Racing spanking Edinburgh?
Hold on, I was going to say Toulouse. So all the talk in the build-up, and quite understandably, I'm not suggesting it shouldn't have been, is Dupont, Untermack, and guys like that. Colby, obviously, but Mathis Lebel.
Yeah,
they've got another
class.
star there. He is awesome. Top try scorer in the top 14.
Yeah,
and his footwork is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I assume he's come up with Untermack because he's about the same age. He's like 22, 23, something like that. He looks brilliant. It's the first time I've really seen him.
Yeah.
And he's just so dangerous and reads the game so well as well. I mean, this Toulouse team it's going to take some stopping to beat this Toulouse team.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got an interesting game coming up next.
Yeah. But I will just say, I'm hoping that it will get put up on some channel or other somewhere to watch. But after the game, we only had a very short period of time, so I got a quick interview in with Johan van Graan. But I did have a chat to CJ Stander, which didn't go out on a programme, and it hasn't been put up on Twitter or anything since. But I really hope people get to see it, because I
Will
kind
you get royalties?
No, I won't get
Oh, right,
royalties.
sorry.
I want people to see CJ Stander. The man the way he spoke was amazing, and it's everything I love about rugby. He just spoke so honestly, because I pretty much said to him, right, how do you feel? You've just, the Heineken Cup is, what Munster's about, and you've just played your last game for Munster in that competition. How do you feel? And he had to take a few seconds, because you could see him. Don't mind admitting, I felt like
Emotional.
I felt really emotional listening to him chat.
Well, there's been some rather unkind things said about CJ Stander. He says he's retiring to go back to South Africa, be with his family, yada, yada, yada. And I think people in Ireland who are not Munster fans, a very small minority, have said, well, he's been disingenuous, he's gone to sign for a South African team. Which I was like, so what if he has?
Yeah, so what?
Has he not earned the right to go and play in South Africa?
His wife lives in South Africa.
Does she really?
She's in South Africa. I don't know whether that's like recent. I'm assuming he hasn't spent the whole 7 years on his own in Limerick, but
And she's Irish.
but certainly for a period of time, his wife has been
Well, what do you expect?
back in South Africa. This is as he's been completely transparent. It's a family decision, and I totally believe him on that, because he's given up.
Hope he doesn't retire. I do hope we continue to see him play.
Because he's 30, turning 31.
Yeah.
So he's got a few good years left in him. Did you see, I assume you did, the post that he put on as his retiring statement?
Yeah.
I don't know if you read it, Jay.
I think I did, actually.
Because it was really well written. It was a really emotional post, and he explained both good sides and the difficulties in doing what he's done, and the emotion, the number of people who've helped him on the journey, and how much he's loved it. It's a really, really nice touch. It came across. He came across really well in it. So I'd really like to see that interview.
Yeah, I like his story. I love the fact that he, someone bothered. Well, I'll go and be an international eight somewhere else then. Cheers. See you around.
Well, he never came across thinking he'd be an international eight for Ireland.
What did he come? He didn't come over as a hooker.
No. But he didn't come over. I don't think he came over with Ireland thinking he'll be a number eight. It was just he'll be a number eight for the country. He just initially. I don't think he was. I don't know.
He must have backed. I think he probably backed himself to be able to. But it wasn't a.
It wasn't. He knew it clearly.
Yeah, he knew it was not guaranteed. He knew you'd have to work at it, because by international eight standards, he's not the biggest.
Well, he could play in my formation.
He would be the explosive fast one.
Yeah, two Duprees either side. It does sound like a situation where everyone is right, where he's not big enough to play South African back row, but it doesn't really matter.
And do you remember how lovely he was at the World Rugby Awards in Monaco?
Yes, I do.
He came and chatted to us, and he could not have been a nicer bloke.
No, he's a very, very nice guy.
Yeah, really special bloke. So yeah, I enjoyed that. And Clement Poitrot, good-looking fella, and he looks as young as he ever has.
Oh, really?
He does not age, that guy. So yeah, you're up to date.
He's always been a handsome guy.
Poitrot played.
You know, he's he's the backs coach.
I was going to say.
My dad did play.
Played.
My dad
played, yeah.
Who probably played with Poitrot for a bit, actually, a good few
I
years.
was going to say, like.
Played well, my dad.
I remember Poitrot dropping the ball for Rob Howley. He can't surely be.
Honourable note to Kilcoyne, who in this game, he scrimmaged very well. He did the hard stuff, and then he found himself. I think it was Entomac and Lebel broke.
Yeah.
He had. I think it was Jean Clean inside him, Jean Clean.
Colby tried to do him,
and it was. I think it was Lebel outside him, and Kilcoyne only had O'Donoghue, his number 7, outside him. He's effectively defending in the 13
and there was
channel.
a big gap between them as well, wasn't there?
Well, he would. Yeah, there was a big gap between him and
his worst nightmare.
Well, Kilcoyne was in the position that Odogwu found himself against Pinot.
Yeah,
Kilcoyne makes the tackle on Entomac. Odogwu missed the tackle on Pinot.
So you're saying Dave Kilcoyne should pay 13 for England?
Well, maybe 13 for Italy. I'm saying.
Hey, 13 for Italy, yeah.
It was really,
The one
really
situation
impressive.
he didn't want, the one situation he trains not to be in
Yeah, exactly.
every day.
I work so hard never to have to do this.
Well, sorry, Munster, you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just on Munster, one thing I found out chatting to Donnachie O'Callaghan, which sounds like a name drop. That's not what I meant.
Well, it's exactly what
Anyway,
he meant.
it is just this lad Thomas Ahern for Munster. They're talking that he could be like generational type talent.
Was he
Paul O'Connell, the heir to the throne of Paul O'Connell. He's a lock.
Is he? Was he in the squad?
No, but this is part of the reason
Interesting.
why Munster have signed James. No,
Jonathan Joseph.
no,
Jamie Joseph.
Jordan Jones.
the South African back five of the scrum player. And they're sort of going, don't bring in another Safa, get this Thomas Ahern
Yeah.
in. So anyway, it's just one of those names because I know you love your names to watch. Thomas Ahern.
Yeah.
Thomas Ahern.
Well, I mean, if he is generational, which would be great, and they can play him next to James Ryan, they've got
Yeah.
Well, he and James Ryan were in the under-20s team together.
together.
Yeah, which is why Munster are feeling a bit frustrated because they're like, hold on, they were both dominating at
How old is
under-20s.
James Ryan? I'm
23 now,
And
or till 22, 23.
yeah,
So
interesting.
anyway, so Munster are frustrated he hasn't been given the shot. So anyway, just a name to watch. Yeah, but there you go. That's Munster to lose.
Should we touch on Racing?
It happened, didn't it?
It
There was a
happened.
game, there was a game that happened.
They look. If it's possible, they look even better than they have done before.
It wasn't.
And Maxime Machino looks just as devilishly handsome as he always does.
Machino looks incredible. Teddy
Something went
Thomas looks
horribly
incredible.
wrong here.
Well,
didn't it?
it's, what I'm disappointed with Edinburgh is just how much they capitulated in the last 20 minutes. Like, they conceded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
God, was that many?
5 tries in the last 20 minutes.
I think if I was Edinburgh, an Edinburgh fan, I'd be really furious because they didn't go with nobodies. They're not a bad. Like the thing about the Pro 14 is, I get it. The Pro 14's rubbish, and I get it. That you don't see all the players because the squad's on that deep, and so forth. But when they go to Europe, it's their chance to shine. And you've seen squads across the competition and the competition below. Sorry, not squads, teams, which are absolutely awesome. On paper, that Edinburgh team should be the equal of pretty much anyone. Anyone in the Premiership, anyone in France. And I say equal, yeah, you can lose a game.
Competitive though.
Yeah, competitive.
Competitive, yeah.
I mean, look at the back row. Watson, the boy,
Richie Mata, Villarme Mata,
yeah,
who is...
they should be taking it to people. So, whether Cockers has got his strategy wrong there or something catastrophic has failed.
So I didn't watch the first half of this game. I only switched on at half time. But
Did you manage to catch their 3 points?
I missed their 3 points.
Oh.
Blair Kinghorn played 10 and
Yeah.
Jacko van der Velde was on the bench,
Yeah.
which I don't know the reason for that. It looks, in retrospect, it looks like a very odd call to do that, particularly when Damien Hoyland, like, he's a 15, he's a capable outside back, but he's not as good as Blair Kinghorn, and Blair Kinghorn's not as good as Jacko at 10, so it seemed odd. But I might be missing something as to there might be a reason why.
Jamie Ritchie, Hamish Watson, Bill Matter. Come on.
Yeah, I
Come
mean,
on,
that
boys.
is a class, and their front row is good.
Yeah.
Dave Cherry, we now know, is a decent player, scoring tries for fun in the Six Nations.
Marcus Bradbury's a back row, though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
it's,
assume there's some injury or missing some
it
players
doesn't-
there.
Yeah, I mean, just reading the names, looking at what they've done in Six Nations, some of these boys have done throughout their career, 56-3 isn't good enough.
Did you see? So this is another thing on Duan van der Merwe. An issue with Duan van der Merwe, but his defence isn't good enough for me. I don't know if either of you saw Jordan Joseph hand him off. So number 8.
I've seen a still of it, I think.
Yeah, Duan van der Merwe is pretty much, for all intents and purposes, he's as big as Jordan Joseph, and he's 20 years old. Just put him on the deck in his own in Duan's backyard.
He's not enormous. In fact, he's smaller, I'd say. Yeah, like he's more explosive. I mean, I'd be surprised if he's over 6'2".
I don't know. He's not. He's probably a bit heavier,
Yeah.
But he's for all intents and purposes, they are similar weights. It's not like Jordan Joseph was against Darcy Graham.
Or it's not like Martin Bayfield presenting stood next to Danny Kerr,
No, it's not like that. It's not like that.
which was a hilarious way to finish the weekend's rugby.
Yeah, Racing
Formidable.
very good, but we didn't really learn how good they are. I don't think.
They've got to go. They've got.
Do they host
No, they-
Toulouse?
No. It's
is it-
Toulouse go to Claremont.
Yeah,
Leinster
sorry.
go to Exeter.
Racing travel to Bordeaux.
Racing go to Bordeaux.
So that'll be a good game. That's
Yeah.
winnable for Racing, but winnable for Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bordeaux beasts.
It does look like a French team's winning this. I mean, not just because there's 5 of them in the quarterfinals,
Pretty
but
sure there's some Northern Grits and some South African Steel that would have something like that.
so the
Some Zimbabwean
the
steel in
semi-final-
the
the semi-final is going to be done via a draw. So
okay.
you'd like to see an all semi-final and then the other one. I don't want to see. Yeah. Oh no. Wait. Hold on. Leinster v Exeter. What's the other one? Oh, Sale. Yeah, I'd like Sale and Exeter or Sale and Exeter to go through, and then have them against each other.
And then two of the
and then
French teams, so you're
Two of the French
guaranteed
teams.
an English final. Yeah.
Isn't that's an interesting.
Obviously, if
one.
you're a Leinster fan, you want Leinster, but
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've had enough success.
They've got enough stars on that jersey
No,
already.
do you know what the final I would genuinely love to see would be a shoot star Toulouse v Leinster.
Ooh.
Would be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one bit of news is the final will not be at Marseille,
Yeah, I
which
saw that.
I mean is lucky for everyone.
Thank God.
yeah.
I mean, absolutely. And again, if you do, I don't know what the deal is with 2023 tickets now, but if you do ever get any, and there's any games at Marseille, whatever the match, even if it was the All Blacks v South Africa or
and go to like Monaco or Cannes or
Yeah.
no,
Monton.
I'd go to a bar in Aix-en-Provence, about
Oh,
half
yeah.
an hour down the road.
You
Beautiful,
said.
beautiful little town.
I think
Beautiful little town, away from all the rats in Marseille.
literal rats.
Literally rats. Yeah, that's not dehumanizing humans. That's
No,
just
no,
saying
no.
that were they were rats.
actual, the biggest rats I've ever seen.
Chased by rats. The only time- I've only ever seen rats in Manchester once. I've seen rats in Paris, which were quite frightening. I was walking along the Seine. In fact, I walked along the Seine, and I didn't realise it's not something that you do, from what I can tell. Walked through a homeless encampment, which was pretty terrifying, but you carry on going. And literally about 10 minutes later, the police were fishing a body
Oh,
out of the
God.
river.
Oh my God.
And then there was the rats, and I thought, I'm going to walk back on the road.
It sounds like San Francisco now, which San Francisco had an awesome time. It's a really fun city, and the I can't remember the name of that street.
Love to see the seafront on, in LA.
Oh, Venice. That's just you get massive numbers of homeless people.
Do you?
Unfortunately, yeah, really like California is in a really bad way in that sense. But
Maybe I'll skip it.
but you get Muscle Beach, and
That's what I want to say. That's
now
what I
you're
want to
talking.
yeah, and you just get loads of posers or people that are doing
Perfect.
TikTok and YouTube videos, doing amazing things. Just watching them is wicked.
I've heard that the strip there is an absolute hellhole, which is I want to do it even more now.
Yeah,
Even more.
it is fun.
And then
We go see the LA Giltinis.
yes.
Oh
right.
yes, they
So
play in
in the Coliseum.
Yeah, that stadium is
So
class.
do you know the story about the Giltinis?
So it's Adam Gilchrist, not the cricketer.
No. Oh right.
Huh? Is that serious?
Yeah.
Is that the guy's name?
So yeah, who
American businessman.
Australian
business.
who
Uh,
various ventures. I think he's originally fitness based
is he?
type stuff, but he has drinks brands included, and that's why it's Gil. So
Gilts.
Adam Gilchrist, the Giltinis and the Gilgronis.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's why it's Gil.
Yeah.
He has, they are his brands. So it's like, I don't actually know what the drink is. I assume it's like a pre-mix, like a gin in a tin type.
Is it
thing.
not from his spirits?
Well, it might be from his spirits, but then I assume it's a pre-mixed type
Dunno.
thing.
Giltini. JTini?
Is he change? Is it just does he have a? Is it like Aldi where they do something that tastes just like the?
Punk IPA,
Yeah,
Aldi's
exactly.
Punk IPA.
Won't be as good as the stuff that you get from premium brands.
Oh,
Obviously
absolutely
not.
not.
Obviously not.
Oh, speaking of premium brands,
Oh, do we have a winner?
no, something more important.
Oh,
JB
yes.
are a year older this week.
I am, yes. I am 20.
late 20s.
Yeah, I'm 37.
Very late 20s. I've got a little present for you.
Don't swing on the antique chairs.
Happy birthday for this.
Thank you, my friend.
I did wonder what that little bag was. I thought Phil had taken to get a man bag.
No.
What's that? Strong Zero. Oh wow!
Dare we indulge?
Maybe not. No,
One for you, Tim.
I've got you 6 cans.
Oh God, that's 6
of
deaths.
9% Strong
It's
Zero.
called a suicide dose.
Well, it's to an elephant. You have no.
Do you know what we should do? We should do a. Well,
I'm gonna have
Are
one.
you going to crack one?
you're gonna have one. Whoa!
I'm dry. I've got to drive home.
I've got work all week.
I would love to. I've got a wife. I've got kids.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
God. The
Can I
The early part-
try, can I try a sip of yours rather than have a can of my own?
the early parts of Japan, England are flooding back to me. But only the very early parts.
Do you know what that tastes like? I'm glad I've experienced this now. It tastes like what you make in the park in a bottle where 14 or 15, 16 or something.
So easy to drink.
Yeah, so easy to drink. Too easy.
That's dangerous for 9%, isn't it?
Really
What
dangerous.
Centauri minus 196
Degrees C.
That's below an absolute zero, is it not?
I thought my absolute zero was like 2.7. Well, it was absolute
It can't be.
zero.
It's colder than
Celsius.
liquid nitrogen.
Minus 273 is absolute zero.
Okay, so not quite.
Or 0
I
Kelvin.
mean, by all means, JB, just drink them. But what
Drink all 6 of them.
what I was going to suggest is if you do save a few, we could do a special podcast with some Strong Zero stories and other listener Q&As whilst enjoying some Strong Zeros.
Oh god, that would get
Oh, wow.
incoherent
So I think
towards
that's
the end.
the thing we get emailed about is people, their stories whilst
stories,
drinking
yeah.
Strong Zeros.
I can't believe you just cracked a can.
Yeah.
Insane.
You're gonna put on my suit and sleep on the street now.
And if you have a Strong Zero story or any other point or question or anything, it's contacteggchasers@gmail.com.
Bristol, Bordeaux.
This was a shock to me because I see Bristol as a team that can overcome absolutely anything.
And I don't think they were far away from overcoming this. I mean, if I were a Bristol fan, I'd look back at a couple of the decisions. The Jalibert try, the potential Higginbotham knock-on for the Dweeber try. And Dweeber, I love this guy.
Yeah, he's awesome, isn't he?
Class. He just looked so dangerous, so explosive. Yeah, and even with those decisions that went against Bristol was still pushing, and it was fine margins, like the Higginbotham knock-on that led to the Dweeber try, or not knock-on that led to the Dweeber try. Bristol were 10 yards, 5 yards from Bordeaux's line. That easily could have been a Bristol try that puts them right back into it. And the scoreline only went so far to Bordeaux because of that, and then the interception right at the death that totally killed the game. Bristol were not far away, but they were forced by Bordeaux to play right on the edge. And this was something that Bordeaux did brilliantly. They disrupted at the breakdown in the tight, and their defence was awesome. They read everything, so they really shut down Randrandra and Piatau and all the other threats, and Morahan and Purdy and Sheedy and Leura and Piers O'Connor when he came on, and Nathan Hughes and Ben Earl. There's so many threats right across the park, and Bordeaux really did a number on shutting Bristol down.
Yeah, not an easy team to shut down, Bristol.
They're really not.
And
I mean, for context, it should just remind, I don't think Bristol will be surprised about the results, and Bristol fans time at Ashton Gate in the Challenge Cup semi-final only a few months ago.
so, do you know how many calories are in a Strong Zero?
How many?
54.
What?
What?
Hang on.
That's
That can't-
impossible.
That is impossible because of the alcohol.
Hang on. 54 per 100. It must be
Per 100
100 mil.
milliliters, per 100
Yeah.
mils, which is just 330, is it?
still pretty low.
150 calories.
Oh my God.
You can,
I
you
get
can
drunk
get you can get
and-
wasted and not put on and stay under 97
No wonder
kgs.
Japanese people are so drunk and so thin.
So it must be sweeteners in that then, because if it's
Anyone who tells you, right, that like oil chemicals are bad for you,
drink Strong Zero.
yeah, they're wrong, aren't they?
Because just in terms of the alcohol, it can't be far off that.
And all of the whole lemons which they must use to make this.
Well, I think the same thing that we was. And this is a much better conversation. But JB and I had a very conversation about protein yogurts earlier, and I can't believe how low they are. You get like
the no fat
15-20% of 15-20 grams or like 20 grams of protein in a pot.
Yeah.
But you've only got like 190 calories.
Yeah, well, if you got basically no sugar and no fat,
Yeah.
So every gram of protein would have 4 calories in it. So 20 grams of protein has 80 calories in it, and then you have a couple of grams of sugar.
This is the sort of
That's
chat
your
that
lot.
players talk about at the training ground, I imagine.
Well, yeah.
What's your preferred type of protein yogurt, Tim?
Well, let's lead on to the Strong Zero. Do not drink Strong Zero if you're a professional athlete.
Do not do that. Yeah, so Bordeaux, very nice win. I just disappointed for Bristol Bears. I was expecting more.
Yeah, and they were close, but I think they really backed themselves after the last couple of weeks of results where they've been, 2 tries down with minutes left on the clock. They backed themselves to be able to do it, and Bordeaux are a very good team. They're very organised, and Bristol having to attack allowed Bordeaux to put the pressure on and allowed on Bristol's mistakes.
It's Bordeaux's first ever quarter-final in the Champions Cup. I am really disappointed because Bristol v Racing just had such a sexy feel to it as a fixture, didn't it?
Do you know
It
who was the
did,
title
yeah.
prop for Bordeaux?
Yeah.
Came over to Sale from, I want to say Moldova.
Yeah.
Moldova, yeah.
Moldova. Best at table tennis, best at wrestling, great hands. Like, basically one of the best signings.
Has knocked over an international conversion.
Yeah. People don't realise how skillful he is at pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And still winning games, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
Dimes knows his players.
Nice prop pairing with Coblas and Poirot, Jefferson Poirot.
They made a really
That's such a cool name.
Yeah.
They made a really interesting point in comms about this, which is Jefferson Poirot is the captain of Bordeaux, and they were thinking of other captains who were captain from Loosehead, and that's
Or just prop in general.
Vickery and Haymans.
Phil Vickery.
oh yeah, good shouts.
John Schmidt did when he was hooker, moved across to tight head.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I think Nick Mullins on comms said David Soul.
For Scotland,
Yeah, timely.
in the 1990, in the 1990 team that beat Murray beat England in the Grand Slam decider.
Did Tom Smith captain?
I don't know if he did.
Think I could be wrong. I don't think so. But my knowledge of 90s rugby is not.
Tom Smith was just a total workhorse, but he very, very quiet man. I wouldn't have thought he was a skipper, but brilliant guy and player.
Yeah, I can't think of many.
Because there's been a fair few hookers.
Yeah, quite a lot
over
of
the
hookers.
years. But Looseheads in particular, because Heyman.
Well, Loosehead's just the inferior prop, aren't they? The weaker of the two. There you go. So, anything else I want to say about this? Yes, I would like to say that Cameron Waukee intimidates me even via TV.
Oh, I know.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
The back on the boy.
Yeah.
He's
He's all over the place.
so
In a good
explosive.
way.
Yeah.
He doesn't start for France, but it just tells you how good the French back.
the
French back
And
was.
he's young.
He is. And I've always quite liked Scott Higginbotham. I think he's a big boy. He's a very good carrier. He's an intelligent rugby player. And he's very good in that team. He's the kind of guy they need.
Yeah. Any other games?
No, well, I'll tell you what. Let's look to the quarterfinals, and then we can jump.
No other games.
Jump across the
Maybe
tracks.
one other game to
Yeah.
mention.
Yeah, go on.
Maybe one. I didn't watch it, so we don't really.
All this effort to get Welsh players back to the regions,
Yeah,
and
what was the point?
they've only got 4, so their teams are not diluted in the way that Premiership sides are, or even top 14 sides for that matter. And I'm really disappointed with the regions, and Scarlet's just symptomatic of that. We're just so poor with the players they've got. I mean, that's not to take it away from Sale, who were excellent.
Yeah, just on the Welsh regions, and guess it's exactly the same point as I made before. If the Pro 14 isn't giving you tough competition, how do you gel as a squad? You can't just take half of your international team and hope that they play well. Scarlet showed up to this game with 4 Lions. You'd think that 4 Lions would be able to do some damage. It reminds me of the Exeter versus Cardiff game at Sandy Park, and Cardiff lost by about 50 points. Cardiff had 5, maybe it might have been 7 Irish Lions on in their team, and they still got spanked. I think they're going to have another look at this, because you can't just cruise through your league, roll over for Leinster each and every year, then show up with all guns blazing, but had no time together. They've had no time to form cohesion, bonds, combinations, all things that you need as a team. Whereas Sale rolled into this and they just spanked them, absolutely spanked them. I don't think I've seen Sale have such an easy ride of it all season. Certainly not under Sanderson. Scarlets were completely incapable to deal with any of the physicality. They were so deep. There was a couple of decent moments from Jack Morgan. I thought he was reasonable. Everyone else just didn't show up. And these players that are known for not showing up, Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, they are good players.
Well, that could be part of a Lions front row in
genuinely, yeah.
In 2-3 months' time. Wyn Jones was probably the best loose head prop in the tournament in my mind. I thought he had a great tournament.
Yeah, Will Griff dealt with him fairly easily. I think.
And rather than saying we played amazingly well, Alex Sanderson said, I think we caught Scarlets a bit cold.
I think Alex Sanderson might look at that and go, that shouldn't have been points. That should have been 70 points or 80 points, because in the open exchanges, I thought Sale were completely dominant. They were unlucky not to come away with more. Now, when Scarlets folded eventually, they completely folded. There's nothing that they could do, and I'll give you an example. Across the field, they were not able to contain Sale. Out wide, Barry McGuigan was breaking a tackle every time he had the ball, and because he broke that tackle, then the gap would be naturally jackling, has to then go back round and make the tackle, and then they can set up again. The Dupree, well, I say the Duprees, I think there's only one playing. I think there was one playing.
John Luke and
yeah, sorry. They were running over people for fun. Best that I've seen them play, and I think actually if they were a bit more disciplined with going to ground quicker, again Sale would be even better. So that's all good. Bevan Rod, hear me now, believe me later. That is an England player. That is an England player.
Doesn't sound like an England player with that. He sounds like a Welsh player.
I think Wales would be delighted if he was a Welsh player, but if England are not picking him up very soon, I would be
He's only like 21, isn't he?
Brilliant. Absolutely.
I mean, he looks like he's about 35.
Yeah. Langdon came on, made a huge impact. But I guess the guy, I think AJ McGinty got 32 points, all told. And the genius of AJ McGinty is he's got all these around him. They don't know when to stop running. You've got Faf weaving all sorts of magic. And it's his ability to put structure onto the game, which I don't think Rob Dupree can do. I don't think anyone can do. I think you've got to be an incredibly mature and sophisticated rugby player to be able to knit all this stuff together.
Well, have lots and lots of skills, but make it look very, very, do everything very, very simply.
Yeah, because he knows he's got. I mean, imagine how hard it is to predict what a Dupree is going to do with what they run sideways. They bump people off. They've gone 2 or 3 yards further than they should do. They've thrown a ball over their head or beneath their legs in an offload. Then you've got Faf doing Faf stuff. Bloody hard playing fly half a Sale, and yet he does it really, really well.
On the flip side, it's always easier playing fly half when you're behind a very, very dominant pack. Yeah. I wouldn't feel too sorry for him, or the Dupree further than he was expecting. Poor AJ.
Yeah, they blew out the ruck too quick.
Bevan Rod.
Yeah.
So he's 20 years old.
Yep.
He'll be 21 in August. He was born in Scotland.
Really?
But he's got England under 16, 17, 18. He's England honours.
If I was Scotland, I would cap him immediately.
Well, so he's listed on Sale's website. Do you know what position he's listed as?
I would say loose head prop, but I'm guessing it's not then.
Well, it's prop and
flanker.
Hooker.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So
wow.
That, I mean,
God, that's exciting.
That's old school.
That is old school. So I wonder if he got a call when, because obviously we've just had the Scottish hooker crisis of 2021.
Yeah.
He might have been on the list for that.
Maybe.
Although he's obviously not hooking.
Of course,
Sale.
they called up Ewan Ashman.
Yeah.
Langdon. I mean, it's going to be great to see who is going to be the number 2 at Sale, because looking at the way that Van der Merwe played, you think, well, he's got to be.
Tommy Taylor will be number 1.
Tommy Taylor's not been number 1. Tommy Taylor
will be number 2 then.
Will he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he's as good as don't think he's as good
Don't
as
you
Langdon.
talk about my Tommy like that.
I think Langdon Langdon's the boy, and his dad's a Marine. There you go. What's Taylor's dad?
We'll see. Let's look at the quarterfinal.
Taylor.
The quarterfinal matchups then. So, and in order of broadcast.
Before we do,
Oh, yeah, go on.
can we just touch on the other bit of news, which was the Mike Brown story?
Well, I mean, we can go on to the because we can do that in the context of
Okay.
touching on the Challenge Cup.
Okay.
So
cool.
just like just to wrap up the
Yeah.
the Champions Cup with a nice bow on it. Saturday, they're all on Saturday and Sunday. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. 3 p.m. on Saturday. La Rochelle play Sale.
Ooh.
With a crowd, I'd say La Rochelle win that at home.
Yeah.
I think Sale have got a really good shout.
It does. Yeah. Look, styles make matches, and is Sale's power game gonna work as well against La Rochelle as it does against Scarlets?
Well, clearly not. It won't work
No.
as well.
Yeah.
No.
And then if there's a slight change of momentum, do they keep up the energy? Do they keep up all that good stuff which makes them win, or do they go into their shells a bit? Which is
If La Rochelle had a crowd, I would say they are favourites. Without a crowd, I think this is a coin toss. I think this could go either way.
I'm totally with you.
I think this would be a really good game because, JB, as you said, styles make matchups, and I think these two they're nicely matched.
yeah.
They are very well matched sized.
And last time that Sale got to a European Champions Cup final,
It's in San Sebastian,
in what year?
2008.
I think it was
2007.
2006, the year they won the league.
Was it really?
Ooh.
Exeter v Leinster, Saturday 5:30 p.m. This is the one. I cannot wait for this game.
Yeah,
I'm
this will
so
be really-
excited.
We
This will be
travelled
very
across
good.
the Irish Sea to watch this a few years ago.
Yeah, God, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And by the way, the way that the games have been organised, with no disrespect to La Rochelle and Sale, because I'm really looking forward to that game. But that's a brilliant curtain raiser for Exeter Leinster, and then on the Sunday,
Yeah.
Bordeaux Racing is a brilliant curtain raiser for Clermont Toulouse.
They're all great games.
Oh, they're
but
such good games.
The more wins,
Oh,
the premium Heineken Cup brands
Oh.
are the latter games in both.
so exciting! Exeter Leinster, I cannot wait. How's it going?
Oh, I don't know.
Exeter.
Exeter will do everything that we know Exeter can do, but they will find Leinster more difficult to break down than just about any team.
Yeah,
Because
agreed.
Leinster they have the amazing combination of enormous experience in both Heineken Cup and international. Like pretty much everyone in their team is an international player.
Well, it was even without Gary Ringrose and James Ryan last weekend. Every single one of their starting team was a full Irish international.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and even the guys that guys bringing off the bench who are not Irish internationals, like someone like Scott Fardy,
Yeah.
who's just he's been such a smart acquisition because he covers a huge number of positions, and he's just very, very good and very experienced.
Yeah.
So Leinster will be as difficult as any other team in Europe, Exeter to break down, and the bit that Exeter have to do is, which they do incredibly well, is trust their processes and trust their systems, because they are not. If Leinster go 2 tries up as Leon did, it would take the full 80 minutes for Exeter to get the opportunity to come back into that game. They're not going to be, after 50 minutes, this game is not going to be over. This is going to be a full 80-minute match
Yeah.
for both teams.
I think I think another coin toss, but I'm going to say Leinster come out on top of this one.
Exeter. I just think they've been more battle hardened through the Premiership. They're ready to go. Exeter win their league at a canter. Nah, Exeter.
The battle hardened is interesting because it's definitely true, but nations, which are incredibly physical, they then went straight into the Pro 14 final against a very physical Munster team, and a week off is probably just what the doctor ordered for Leinster, so I think that will actually suit them quite nicely. Yeah. With that said, I really want Exeter to win.
You're
Yeah.
willing it to happen.
Yeah, give me Exeter by 3 points.
On to Sunday, Bordeaux v Racing 92.
Bordeaux versus Racing.
Racing win this.
I mean, yeah, on paper I'd say Racing do. I don't really know enough about how they're both going domestically to say.
I can tell you now, Racing are third in the league, have won 13 out of 20. Bordeaux are fifth, won 11 out of 20.
Ooh,
Not an enormous amount in it.
I guess it'll be Racing then.
Yeah, I think Racing, but Bordeaux, I was very impressed with their ability to, well, fundamentally stop Bristol, which is, if you can stop Racing, and Racing probably a similar style to Bristol. They've got amazing runners, amazing distributors. I mean, when there was Beale and Zebo both on the pitch in that last 20 minutes.
Zebo rumoured to go into London Irish.
Yeah, potentially. Which,
He's old enough and he's expensive enough.
to play in the forwards.
Well, if
London Irish's back three, they don't need Zebo.
No.
Look, I mean, they've got Naholo potentially to come back, but Parton, Ollie Hassel-Connellins and Ben Loader are
and you got
class.
James Stokes as well.
Stokes, yeah, very good. I wouldn't be spending a lot of money on Zebo.
No, I wouldn't either. I don't think that's a good move.
But yeah.
Just one thing I didn't mention earlier when we talked about Bordeaux v Bristol, and you mentioned the decisions, quite rightly, Phil. But what about what Austin Healey had to say about this has been brought up before many times, about the French directors being selective with their camera angles.
Yeah, and Pat Lam has intimated as much.
They don't have crowds. You need some sort of home advantage. I don't have a problem with it. I quite like the gamesmanship. I mean, yeah, people will hand wring and say it's not a great look for the sport. Fine. Go into the director's truck and make it happen.
It's a very good point. Because the Dweeber try in particular, Higginbotham, they showed two angles which were totally inconclusive. There must be, I don't know, 12 cameras in that stadium, 16 cameras. How you could only get two angles that were totally inconclusive?
Now, as far as I understand it, because the TMO is in the same broadcast truck as the directing team, in a different access, as I understand it, the TMOs to every camera. However, the one they will focus on most is the one that the director is selecting.
Oh, so the TMO can say, look, there's a different angle here.
I think so. I don't know how it works.
It didn't, on reviewing of that Higginbotham potential knock-on, didn't look like...
No.
Because you could not get anything conclusive from those two angles.
No.
Conveniently, you couldn't get anything conclusive from those two angles. And even
very strange how this is from time to time, and usually in one direction.
Yeah.
And it'd be all right, wouldn't it, if it happened in both directions?
Yeah. But the guy off the field, and they had to combine two angles to make a decision, but neither one of them definitively showed the ball going down over the line.
Now the referee, I thought the referee handled that quite well, because he said that the TMO, the ref said, I'm not sure if he was short or not.
We see the ball grounded, but we don't know where it was.
No. The ref said he was over the line. I don't know if it was grounded. The TMO looked at it and said, I can see a grounding, but the angle doesn't show that it's over the line. And the ref put the two together and said, well, I saw him over the line. I just didn't know he grounded it. You've seen a grounding. We'll put the two together. Let the boys play.
I think probably in that the right decision was made.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that they overturned the on-field decision without definitively...
That's true.
They didn't have the definitive evidence. You could, I think, logically, the conclusion... They got to the right conclusion.
If it was a trial, the jury may well have said not guilty or no try with reasonable doubt.
Yes, yeah, no try with reasonable doubt, or that just because of the. If you'd have asked the other question, if you'd have said on-field decision is a try, it definitely would have been a try.
Yeah.
And because he said on-field decision is no try, I think you'd be a little bit agreed. But I think in that one, they actually got the right answer.
Final game, Clermont-Toulouse. Such a good way to finish the weekend. Well, there'll be games afterwards, but Sunday 3 p.m.
I
hope the weather's rubbish. By the way, like not at the games. Hope the weather's wonderful at the games, but rubbish, so I don't feel bad about sitting indoors
all weekend.
I want Toulouse to win for no other reason that I love Toulouse. I just think that they're cooler than everyone else. How it goes down, I don't know. I suspect Toulouse are the slightly superior team here.
I've always had a liking for Clermont, more so even than Toulouse. But I think this incarnation of the Toulouse team, it just represents everything that's good about French rugby.
It does, doesn't it? It really does.
It's the
huge men, rapid backs, swag,
talented youngsters, like seriously talented youngsters coming through that they've developed. So I think either one will be a handful. No matter who goes through, either one will be in with a shot of winning the title. I think Toulouse probably have a slightly better chance of winning the title overall. So for that, give me Toulouse.
Agreed. We could do a Challenge Cup podcast.
You could do.
Because people with those teams that might want to.
I don't think I've seen enough of it to do it justice.
I've only seen one game really.
That's
the London Irish one. It was awesome.
No worries, let's rattle through it then, because Mike Brown, firstly, you're quite right. So he has been rumoured since, for
Forever.
months and months, rumoured to be going to Newcastle. It was confirmed this week. And Mike Brown didn't want to give a statement through the club. He gave a statement on his own in a newspaper article and felt hard done by. Talked about finding out he was leaving and going to his car and crying.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, always sad to hear.
It is. Look, don't give the animals names. People giving Gustard a hard time for this because it was a Gustard conversation which he was referring to.
Yep.
4 minutes of Gustard. I seem to know, or I seem to have known for quite some time through rumours that this was happening.
How? Yeah. Well, so yeah, you're right. Mike Brown. What a lot of people have said is that's disrespectful to only give Mike Brown a 4-minute conversation when you're telling him he's letting him go. If you watch School of Hard Knocks in the NFL and you see an NFL coach, and in fact, there's a scene in Moneyball where Billy Bean, Brad Pitt plays, tells Jonah Hill's character, you can't sugarcoat it. When you're letting someone want to know is what's happening. You're going. You've been traded. You've been cut. So there is a balance. All I'm saying is, actually, if Paul Gustard had done a big, Mike Brown's going, everyone get together, let's have a big celebration.
So,
like go to the other extreme. I'm saying there is a middle ground.
There is a middle ground, right? And I wonder if this is sort of, not to be unkind to Mike Brown, I don't want this to come across unkind at all, but look at the way that Rob Shaw left. We knew Rob Shaw was going for ages. They named a bar after him. He had, cheerleaders. He had all sorts of things going on. It seems to be like a whole year of Rob Shaw themed events. Now, if Mike Brown's known that he's going since since before Gustard left, they could have done all that. Now, it could be a question like, did Mike Brown really not want to go so much that he was holding out that once the management team had changed, that he could stay? I mean, you don't know, do you?
Well, he did say in the Mail article that he tried, after Gustard left, he tried reopening that door and was told, no, it's shut.
Yeah, he told them no, it's shut, and he also did mention that what they were offering him wasn't what he felt his market value was, i.e. Newcastle were offering him more.
And there you go.
Well, yeah, and that's where the business side of it comes to for me, because there's a lot of the emotional side, and I totally get there's the 4-minute version. There's the 5-hour PowerPoint of this is why you're so old, and these are all the tackles that you've missed, and we'll tell you in detail about how good all the youngsters are. And there's a middle ground, obviously. The 4 minutes, I'm not bothered about the 4 minutes. I would personally want it to be as short as possible. If you tell me you're not going to offer me a new contract,
I doubt it was just like that one. I mean, he was rumoured to go to Exeter last year. Yeah,
but there's the business decision, which is Mike Brown will have been on a very good deal. We know a few years ago he was on a very, very good. All the England guys were on 300k plus, and that's when they weren't playing for England. Weren't playing for Quins as much because they were playing for England. He'll still be on a very good contract. He's not worth as much as he was his deal 2 years ago or his deal 5 years ago now, but he still has a value, and actually, given how he's playing, he still has quite a significant value.
Yeah, exactly.
But his value to Quins might not be as high as his value to Newcastle at the moment.
100%.
And this is the bit that no one seems to be talking about, is the realistic business position, because it's a business.
Yeah, because you're right. Sorry, I'll just be very quick. Everyone seems to have, and it might be right about the 4 minutes. Paul Gustard may not have handled it the best way. Who knows? But everyone seems to be just going, Paul Gustard. But from what I read from Mike Brown, Quins also offered him what Newcastle have offered him. Yeah. So it's not just Paul Gustard.
Yeah. So there's a few things weird about this, I think. Number one, Newcastle have a plastic pitch. Harlequins do not play on plastic pitches. So I don't know.
Do they
what
not?
No, I don't know what the plan is there.
Really?
100%. Quinn's told me. So,
Mm.
100%. So that's a weird one. You've covered off all the other points on Mike Brown quite well, I think. So I won't add anything more to that. Other Quinn stuff is I am pretty certain at this point they are nearly done with signing Rassie Erasmus for next year. So that'll be very interesting. Now, should the Rassie
Wow.
Erasmus stuff?
That's huge if that happens.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Just quickly.
Like, amazing for Quins.
Do you think that?
Yeah.
Phil?
I would like to see it. Yeah, I think in terms of coaching personnel in the world, he's
That's-
as big a name
That's
as you can
huge
get.
huge for the Premiership.
I've got my reservations, to be honest, because they're going well as it is, and they have a structure which requires a DOR. So currently, a lot of people are chipping in. It would raise a few issues for me. Number one, Gustov was not a DOR, was he? He was head of rugby. So they're going to bring in either DOR or a head of rugby. And I think when you're going so well and you've made redundancies, bringing in someone like Rassie Erasmus, who you've got to say, you bring in a guy like that, money must be no object. That's the sort of contract that you're writing.
I mean, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the guy signing that contract knowing that I've let other people go. So yeah, mixed feelings on that. What if he comes in and doesn't like how things are done, or there's a culture clash? Quins are going really well. at the moment.
Could be brilliant for as a selfishly as an Englishman, it could be. Okay, if that happens, Peter de Villiers would be a great shout for your head coach. Please.
And I've also got one other theory. I'd like to know do you think Quins are doing well because Robshaw's gone?
No, because the uptick in performance didn't coincide with Robshaw leaving; it coincided with Gustard leaving.
Bear with me. So I have a theory. Robshaw walking out the door gave all those other lads, all those senior lads, a bit of a sense of perspective that the end is nigh. So Kerr, Marler, Brown, all of a sudden their good mate has gone out the door and is off to San Diego. And I just wonder if that's given them the extra kick up the arse that they need to think, Christ, this team is disintegrating now. We've got basically one more year, and it is now one more year because my Premiership title was not a one-off. That in fact, I've got to be.
Yeah, it's an obvious because basically the minute Gustard went out the door, the results went through the roof.
With other players, perhaps the contract he was on and was paying, actually they can get more value for the team overall by getting Green and another player. I'm trying to think of another example of a new player.
Oh, I mean, the fact that they
You could got 2 or maybe 3 good first team players for Chris Robshaw's money.
Yeah. Well, Tyrone Green, Archie White, and the guy who looks like the Burnley manager.
James Chisholm.
Chisholm, who's also playing really well. So.
Just on Mike Brown not playing on plastic pitches.
Yes.
He played against Saracens at Allianz Park in August last year. I've not gone back to do a massive deep dive, but
he definitely
maybe he had some issues.
Yeah, he doesn't play much on plastic pitches. I can guarantee that.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
but
So
so the Challenge Cup games, London Irish game was great. They
it
looked
was
good.
awesome game.
It was a really
to be
good
fair.
game.
Really good game.
yeah. And London Irish, so they had the red card, and then a yellow card. So they had I always get his name wrong. I want to say Carrick Smith, but it's
Goodrich Clark.
Yeah.
So my question is, how few players do London Irish need in order to score for lineup? 10?
So they were down to 13 men at one point in the last 20 minutes, weren't they?
Yeah.
They that back three is just electric. I love their back three.
They're cool, aren't they? They're very, very cool. I love Loader. Such a spindly, skinny little thing.
Loader and Ollie
But it's
Hassel.
not actually, but it's massive in real life.
Yeah, Ollie Hassel-Collins as well, because he hits like a train defensively, and he's so fast.
And when he made that break right at the end,
Yeah, yes,
Crikey.
go on.
crikey. Yeah, good game, good game.
Very good game.
Before we go on to anything else, anyone notice New Zealand study? Has it come across your radar
New Zealand study?
on concussions?
No.
So it's going to be the biggest ever study of concussion for amateur players,
Okay.
and it is
Which,
occurring-
which probably, like, you could probably achieve that by getting a studying 10 people. Has there been questions at amateur levels?
The answer is I don't know.
Not really.
I mean, I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
be interesting.
I think you've got two things going on here. Concussions in the pro game, which are very, very serious, and what happens in the amateur game. And I think concussions as a group are serious. A concussion at amateur level can be very serious, but it can also be nothing. And we've got to be very careful, particularly in rugby coverage, when they're covering the pro game, not to paint concussions as if they're the end of the world, because we've all played rugby, we've all had a concussion, they all affect people differently, and you can have. I know a friend who has had to go down to part-time work. They can be incredibly serious. But there again, I've played with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players, and it's happened to one. So my worry about this concussion study is it's pretty much not a foregone conclusion, but the people who want to say, look, we told you rugby was dangerous, don't play it in schools, don't do this, don't do that, change all the laws, well, that's what they'll for. And the people who want to continue playing it, even if you told me it's 20 times more dangerous than I perceive it to be, I would think that's going to happen. And even if it did, they'd call whitewash, because some people, no matter what it says, would say, look, it's dangerous.
Yeah, the people who, no matter what comes out of this study, will use it for their purposes.
Well,
The bit that-
we saw that with a report
Exactly.
published earlier this week.
Very, very similar.
Even before that race report was actually published, no one changed their mind.
No one,
Everyone
yeah.
just said that's rubbish because,
That's brilliant because.
or that's brilliant
it
because.
entrenches people further into their views. But
So we've got no baseline of how dangerous rugby is. The only thing we know is how dangerous I see it as on a weekend. All the players that played before me, all the players I've played with, all the players I've played against. That's the only data that I have. That's the only data anyone has really at the amateur level. So no matter what comes out of this study, I'll say, oh yeah, knew that, I'll still play. And then everyone else who's against it will go, oh, I told you it's dangerous.
yeah, you shouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
And again, that I think that the one moral argument I could make is that for minors, where a parent might have an influence on whether
Like
a player
in
plays or
Batley
not.
or in one of the old coal towns.
Yeah. Potentially, you could argue that it can never be a bad thing to have data and evidence for people to make a decision. And in the case of where there are people involved who have parents who are a part of any decision-making process, that can't hurt. I know that in my own, and this might sound crude and oversimplified to a lot of people, but as far as I'm concerned, for my own personal equation that I would draw, well, one, I think the benefits would far outweigh whatever this report says, and secondly, as long as boxing is still a thing, then I can't understand what reason I would have to stop playing rugby.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So particularly the argument on kids is they can't consent. It's I've listened to one sociologist stand up on a stage, loving the sound of his own voice.
Well, you shouldn't listen to sociologists, mate.
No, of course you shouldn't. Of course you shouldn't. But I had to do it. I had to do some research, and he's describing it as child abuse. He's describing it as one of the four types of child abuse.
This is why proper empirical research done properly,
But it'll make no difference.
with actually an honest, good effort to test something and control variables. Sociology does not do that. They don't do research that's meaningful. They have an agenda, and they
Believe you me, you don't need to convince. Not the guy you need to be convincing on the uselessness of sociology. So yeah, there's that. Now the other thing as well I wanted to bring to your attention. Did you notice on comms, Lee Harpenny's concussions were as a brain injury? He came off with a brain injury.
No, I didn't.
Right. So instead of saying Lee Harpenny's returned from concussion, they said he came back from a brain injury. How do you guys feel about that?
was it just poetic license?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same as saying a hamstring injury is a leg injury.
It is and it isn't. Right. So
If he said head injury, you wouldn't have minded, would you?
do you know? No. If he said traumatic head injury or traumatic brain injury, I think I'd be less worried about it. So the reason I don't like it is twofold. One, I think it is genuine fear mongering.
I doubt that was
Who
intentional.
who said it?
It was Jamie Lyle on comms. Now, I will just add this. Jamie Lyle is a commentator who is incredibly poetic. I really enjoy listening to him, and I do think he was just searching for a different term.
Yeah,
But
okay.
maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wanted to make that bigger statement, like, it's a brain injury. So the reason I don't like it is twofold. One, I think it is fear-mongering. But two, it's an inaccurate description. So the argument goes something like, and this is from experts, and you can find this quite frequently, people saying we need to talk about concussions in terms of brain injuries. But they're hypocrites, because even these neurosurgeons who are supposed experts, and they are the experts, actually, the actual experts, if I brought them a rugby player and said he's got a brain injury, they'd look at him and go, oh, right, he's got a concussion. That doesn't mean that they're underplaying it. In fact, if anything, if you take concussion seriously, the word concussion is more than adequate. So when they said, like, Lee Halfpenny suffered a brain injury, I'm thinking, what, was he running and suffered, like, an aneurysm? What is this?
Okay, I've got maybe an analogy, because I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to use an analogy from something else that's quite topical. I haven't just brought up that race report. In the wake of the awful stuff that happened with Sarah Everard, there's a lot of people that talked about sexual harassment of women, and in doing so, in just talking about sexual harassment as a catch-all term, they lumped in someone going with someone who aggressively, physically assaults someone, and the two are very, very different. But by using a phrase sexual harassment as an umbrella term to cover it all, you can be in danger of making the lower end seem more serious and devaluing what the upper end means.
Well,
is that kind of what you mean?
Kind of. Well, yes, but I will say this: concussions are not serious. They're very serious, but they are. We know if I say that someone's been concussed, I know he's probably taken a blow to the head. I know a lot about that situation, and I take concussion seriously. I don't need to be cajoled anymore to taking it any more seriously by changing my language. And just by calling it a brain injury, it doesn't make Lee Halfpenny's head any better. It doesn't stop the amount of concussions. The only thing which stops the amount of concussions, I guess, would be a change in the law. And I wonder if the reason they use this language is to further lobby for more changes of the law, or so we take it, quote unquote, more seriously. And then they follow it up with something like, we need to have a serious discussion about concussions. Well, as far as I'm concerned, we've been having a serious discussion about concussions for the past 3 years now. And in the pro game...
Longer.
Yeah, it has to happen. They have to carry on studying it and work out what's going on. And the amateur game, we don't need to have many more discussions about concussions. The scenery in grassroots has completely changed. Like, no longer would you ever keep anyone on. Even 5 years ago, you might keep someone on. You would never dream of doing that. It doesn't matter what the situation is. If you think he's got a head injury, you bring him off. There's nobody risks it. Nobody risks it.
Don't call it a head injury. I'm joking.
Look, I literally just did it. Yeah, head injury. Actually, I wouldn't be too bothered about. But the terminology of brain injury, and also where's the limiting principle? People were posting to me on Twitter. Look, a concussion is a brain injury. Okay, well, why not just call it an injury then? Why not just call it an event? There's no limiting principle.
Yeah, I guess actually the World Rugby, for example, are very clear that they gouge my area.
Yeah, which is code for eye gouge.
Yeah.
No, I don't like where the conversation's going, and it feels to me like there is a competition. Whoever speaks about concussion in the most shrill way possible is winning it.
That's what. Okay, I think in this case, I don't think
Jamie Lyle did not do that.
No. I think it was pure poetic license. I think actually it's not about the semantics of individual words. It's about the thrust of the conversation, which is basically you're saying, and I agree with you on this. Calm down. Nobody is advocating for people to be hurt unnecessarily. We all accept there is a level of risk, and let's just calmly go through this journey of work. How we keep the sport, keep the risk which people understand and can make and can decide for themselves, but mitigate it in ways that we can where necessary.
I just thought it was odd, right? Because there is a push. There is definitely a push to call concussions brain injuries. You hear it. You do hear it from the experts, right? And for a game which is absolutely obsessed with its image, to the fact that we no longer see fights, we no longer see big hits on Twitter accounts, we no longer we're all obsessed by safety image. The fact that we now want to call these things brain injuries kind of rubs against the fact that they're trying to look after their image as a sport. So there's a lot of things going on here, but I think the word concussion, if you take concussion, which I do, that word is enough. If you don't take concussion seriously, then you will be going down the road of brain injury. Or, of course, what you'd be saying is, I'm only so you take it seriously. And I just think that's kind of judgmental.
I can't believe you had a 5-minute rant over the semantics of the word brain injury or concussion.
Well, think about it, though, Phil, because if you are watching this game for the first time, and rugby's whole shtick at the moment is, our image, the commentator calling it brain injury is pretty devastating.
But if you're watching it for the first time, you genuinely might not know what a concussion is. If you've not seen,
sure.
if you've not seen, I don't know. If you spend your time sewing and gardening and doing general things, if you're not in the rough and tumble world of rugby, you might not.
I mean,
that's why I'm trying to focus on the. I'm trying to focus on the. I'm trying to focus on the thrust of what you're saying, which I totally see. I think the semantics, because I've just suddenly thought of one thing. HIA stands for head injury assessment.
Yeah. Well, because it's a head injury, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a head injury. And there's no two ways about that.
Yeah.
But if someone hitting the head, it doesn't necessarily mean they've damaged their brain.
So it's like saying, a concussion is the equivalent of, like, say, ACL tear, which would be your the specific injury. Concussion is a specific injury. That happens to your brain in the same way as an ACL happens to your knee. That happens to your head in the same way as an ACL happens to your leg. It's just a more specific or less specific way. I'm not kind of triggered when I hear brain injury or concussion, because I know exactly what they mean when they say brain injury. I know exactly what they mean when they say concussion.
This isn't call it we want to say concussion for brain injury, and I just don't see why. If you treat concussion seriously enough, concussion's fine.
Yeah, I'm happy with either term.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely not happy with brain injury. I'm not happy with brain injury catch-all on TV because it's imprecise. You might be.
It is less precise than concussion.
Yeah. If you're going to go for brain injury, there must be a reason behind it. The reason must be. Otherwise, just go with an injury.
Equally, we can just desensitize it by saying, yeah, when you play rugby, you got a risk of your ACL going from time to time. It's a dynamic sport, so you might break your ankle if you're really unlucky. Actually, you'll have an amazing time. Yeah, you could potentially get a little brain injury.
But you can see it. A little brain injury.
Yeah, that's what it is. You might get a bang on the head and feel a bit groggy for 10 minutes, and then you'll watch the rest of the game.
But you just see this cutting through on BBC News when everyone's watching it. Instead of talking about concussions in a grown-up situation, which is a grown-up discussion anyway, instead they're saying, well, in rugby you have brain injuries, and people up and down the line, brain injuries? What is this?
So I like something you said on the amateur game, the awareness over the last few years.
Hugely.
Because I remember multiple seeing head injuries, concussion, whatever you want to call it, brain injuries, concussions. Yeah. So someone's banged their head and they're groggy. Let's just say that, because I won't want to misdiagnose it.
And Lewis Moody goes into a tackle, absolutely battered, and then carries on.
Years ago, not even that many years ago, you used to see it at the highest level, but you would also see it at lower and lower levels because there wasn't enough awareness of the potential consequences and how serious and how it needs to be dealt with. The fact that awareness has raised, and it is raised right throughout the game, and there's still ones that are missed, but far fewer than there used to be. That's a good thing for all aspects of the sport.
Yeah. It raises an interesting question for me, which is, if concussion is an existential threat to the game, which I don't believe it is.
No, I don't believe it is.
I don't believe it should be. I think there are elements that it is actually, but from the point of view that one of the biggest important areas for rugby to maintain and grow ultimately is, for example, getting it into schools and getting people to do it. And I think that there's a safetyism culture, and I've seen this with my kids growing up, and I don't know what you find, but there's this kind of, people don't let their kids go to the park.
No.
Or climb a tree.
Or do you think they're going to... Or go and pick up my cigarettes.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of parents that are going to go...
Make you a Negroni.
No, genuinely, there's going to be a lot of parents that go, oh no, you're not playing that, it's too rough. Just like climbing a tree's too rough, and going to the park on your own and being out of sight of a grown-up.
So the existential threat to the game is clearly in the professional ranks. And I do have a lot of sympathy for that because, you know, it's a bloody hard decision to make. Do I carry on and play for that new contract? Do I give up the game, give up my 300k and become, I don't know, a teacher? What are my options? That is an existential threat, of which I agree. I am not worried in the slightest about the amateur game, unless the rule changes in the pro game are so radical that it changes the game to something that we don't want it to be.
Well, that hasn't happened yet.
No, but that would be my thought. It's a risk, existential threat to the pro game, to the game that I play, and the game that hundreds and thousands of people play every year. Not really a threat.
Challenge Cup.
Yeah. How mental was that Northampton game?
Didn't see it.
Oh, it was bonkers.
I saw the Bath game.
Northampton were miles down to Dragons. Dragons were looking like they're cruising it, and Northampton score 2 tries in the last couple of minutes. It's an insane match. I watched it on the train on the bus from
First class train.
Dublin and Limerick.
Helicopter.
It was a little coach between Dublin and Limerick.
Who's on the coach?
Just the crew, and there was six of us.
The crew, is that what you call Brian O'Driscoll? Is it? Is he the crew?
No, he doesn't travel like that.
Do you know how Brian O'Driscoll gets?
Producer, director, PA, and.
Do you know how Brian O'Driscoll gets the airport from big events? Do you, Phil?
I do, because I was there when he told you.
On the back of a motorcycle.
On the back of a motorcycle. Weaving through traffic. Well, that's like a hero.
That part of the reason is when he does a lot of stuff in the studio, a bit at the BT studios, he then gets a flight from like Stansted or somewhere, and there's quite often very, very little time to get onto his plane. I imagine, because he's travelling Aer Lingus, I imagine he probably saves time because he doesn't even have to bother with a passport or anything. On you go, Brian.
Yeah, that's the way to travel.
Yeah.
So there was a few comebacks. There's obviously London Irish. Bath found themselves 3 tries down. It was 14 points, then 21 points.
So this is an interesting game. I watched it, and it was interesting because Bath turned it round. Basically, all Will Stewart, like just literally through Will Stewart. He was dominating scrums, winning penalties. I think he might have scored a try. Did all right. And the best part about this was half time. BT Sport assembled an expert panel. One was Jordan Murphy, and the other one was King of the North.
Oh, Dimes.
Steve Diamond.
Dimes was on, wasn't he? I didn't see it at all.
He was awesome. He's genuinely really, really good.
A few good one-liners.
Do you know what I like? Well, he's basically the Steve Diamond, which I saw at Sale week in, week out, which is he analysed the game. So exactly what he saw. Craig Doyle was like, so this, by the way, Zebra up. So Zebra got a fighting chance here, trying to G everyone up. No, they don't. No, they don't, Craig.
That is absolutely, you're right. That's completely honest. That's not what you want to hear before a game, though, is it? I'm sure that as much as people would have absolutely loved him being himself, and that's great, and that's really good value, there will have been some people in the gantry going, no, don't say that.
I will turn off in about 10 minutes' time. Minutes via this, that, and the other. Well, there's a good chance of it happening.
Dimes knows things.
Dimes knows things. I'm telling you now.
What were the other games? Leicester had a very good win.
Very good win. They look good. Yeah. They look really good. And
this was a mixed team for Leicester. This was not a full-strength team at all.
Telling you, they are the team that are going to put the pressure on Quins.
I've got to say, I had that in my mind when you said it, and I thought, they're better than they're getting better all the time.
Yeah, and I think next season they will be properly pushing for top 4, or should be.
No obvious weaknesses. Very well organised, very gritty. Yeah, good team.
Yeah, and my beloved Ulster. Hammered Harlequin second team.
They absolutely pumped Harlequin's B team.
Yeah, and it was a proper pumping as well.
They do need a rest, though, the Quins.
Yeah, they rightly, I think Quinn's rightly rested. Yeah. They want top 4. They should be able to get top 4 in the league, and the Challenge Cup was just a step too far this season.
That top 4 fight is 1, 2, and 3 are settled as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Sale, crumble, but looking at what they were like on the weekend, looks unlikely. That 4th position, though, battle royale.
I think seeing the Quins team that they put out against Ulster made me think actually they've
this week about people complaining about Julian Surveyor. Every time there's a Highlanders game, has a party.
No, so there was
What happened?
a few, I don't know, several of the Highlanders squad
I like him even more now.
have been stood down. I think it's some of the young lads because they were partying, noise violation, that kind of stuff.
Noise violation. I thought you were going to say
After
something
the
cool
game.
like
Yeah.
noise
Well,
violation.
it's
That's the
something like that.
worst way to-
I've seen a few little bits.
Brad.
I've not got the full
Hey,
story.
bro, hey, bro, keep it down, keep it down, bro.
So yeah, so the Highlanders.
I'm sure I saw. I might be talking out of school here. I'm sure I saw a quote. Something along the line of, "Every time Highlanders play, there's a massive party. I can hear every beat." So I wish I lived there. Hear every beat. Grow up. Like, what do you expect when you live next door to a 20-something-year-old
Yeah.
megastar?
Parties at Josh Ioane's house, out
Yeah.
of hand. I want to get a Josh
Out,
Ioane
Out of hand.
out of hand does not mean it was a
house party. So the revelry have been getting worse over the past few months.
good lads.
Ioane, alongside a few others, Ioane's the only one I recognise of these guys. After police were called to a house party on Friday night following the loss of the Hurricanes, neighbours confirmed they've been going on for some time.
What?
Well, like, how long do they expect the party to
Go and
for?
join in.
Yeah,
Let the boys play.
Could they hear?
So hold on, but why are they getting stood down from their rugby for what they do in their own time? It's not like because
presumably
there's
it's
no
a
COVID
high-
restrictions or anything
No,
is there
no.
in New Zealand. So what?
nothing. Presumably, it's a clubhouse. Police have been called to an incident at a clubhouse.
Oh, okay.
So I can understand an investigation
No.
into it.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I want something.
It sounds like a bit of a non-story.
Sounds like a great story.
It sounds like quite a good party.
Yeah, and it gets progressively better over the weeks.
Yeah.
like this season.
That's good. That's what I was going to say. You want people to. They did their Monday morning meeting as a household. How can we make next week's party better?
Hot tub row. Well, good on them. So anyway, the thing I was going to say about them is there was a picture on social media, and it struck me because I assumed that they had one single type of lumberjack shirt, but they don't. They have multiple colours of lumberjack
Have
shirt.
they?
Yeah, which you can
Oh.
wear to show your affiliation to the Highlanders. Which I think
Oh.
was
One of these
One of
lumberjack
those.
shirts.
I wish someone else. So, unique sports memorabilia. I honestly think that the Pittsburgh Steelers terrible towel is up there, and the Highlanders lumberjack shirt must be. I can't think of anything else.
Racing 92, the bow ties and
Bow
blazers.
ties are excellent.
The bow tie that wouldn't fit around Camille Schatz's neck.
What's the club? Was it? Is it the Harlequins blazer?
Harlequins blazer is good, but that's just a boat. I mean, there's lots of boating blazers.
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Harlequin's kit is iconic.
a club which is local, it's always had great social stash, is Stockport.
Yeah.
So they went a few years ago. Do you remember when the pink shirts were quite trendy with like blue stripes down them? That sounds awful, but like the Ralph Lauren ones. Well, Stockport had their own, and they had just so it looked like a Ralph Lauren shirt, but it actually had a little Stockport
Little
badge.
Stockport. That's quite cool.
And they had another one which I saw because I used to see them out in Didsbury. When we weren't prisoners in our own home. I saw them in. They had tank tops one year. Like for a while, every year they had like a different item of social going out gear,
I like that.
and you couldn't notice. You wouldn't know Stockport. So you realised
Yeah.
3 or 4. Of
Do you
them.
know the other thing? I just thought that iconic garments that clubs wear, mustard chinos at Bath.
Mustard chinos or faded red. Like you buy a pair of red chinos. You get your house staff to wash them several times.
Yeah.
and then you go
2
to the
dozen
stoop.
times. Bit of bleach.
We need to get some sartorial egg chasers range, a gentleman's range.
Yeah, we had the ties for a little bit.
We still
Yeah.
want
We've
the
got-
ties.
We got the Akuma shirts.
Yeah, the Akuma shirts, but again, it's not
We need something more sartorial, like.
Yeah.
flat caps. We are in Manchester.
I mean, man, I'll tell you what I could do with a flat cap because I need my hair cut so badly.
You need your haircut so badly.
Do you want
Yeah, mate, I've got to go on TV with
you
this
are on
haircut.
TV,
I've
yeah.
got to say, I don't like saying this in front of you, Tim, because it's awkward. You work with these people, but since lockdown, the BT Sports dressing up they've started to dress down. That's what I'm saying. They're all in hoodies now.
Not Baifs.
No Bafes is the exception.
Never base.
Either in hoodies or I accept that sometimes it's cold and you need to have a body warmer and I'm just saying it's been noted. Everyone looks smart, but not as smart as they're used to.
Maybe it's. I mean, I don't. Maybe it's appealing to a broader demographic. Perhaps.
Maybe
it's a conscious choice.
Look, lockdown happens for an extra 12 months, and I predict that they're going to be doing it in their pajamas and dressing gowns.
Joggers.
Yeah.
That was the one good thing about working at the weekend is actually just wearing clothes.
Yeah.
Felt good.
I'd do to wear a jacket.
Yeah. So the quarterfinals in the Challenge Cup are London Irish West versus London Irish East,
Yeah.
and I think London Irish
Oh,
West will edge that.
no, give me London Irish original brand.
Ooh. I'm with you, Phil. I think London Irish will do them.
Original.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Bath still have designs on doing things in the league, so they might mix and match the team a little bit,
I
maybe.
understand they're going for it full ball.
Are they?
I think they'll go full ball. Well, yeah, that's a tasty game. That.
Because also they got spanked pretty hard by London Irish last time round.
So that's the Friday night game.
Yeah.
Friday 8 p.m.
That'll be the
kickoff.
only game on Friday then.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll be watching that.
Yeah, that's good. Saturday, Leicester v Newcastle,
Tigers.
12:30 p.m. kickoff.
Tigers. We've seen this a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think
Tigers will win.
I think Tigers will win this one. But never rule Newcastle out. Obviously, Montpellier, Benetton, nah. Montpellier.
Benetton to get their third win of the season.
After dispatching Stade Francais.
Stade Francais, and
They're clearly big top 14 big game hunters.
they are. So you don't get too much bigger than Montpellier
Nope.
with their enormous South African pack.
They'll beat them hands down.
And Northampton face Phil's beloved Ulster.
I wish I could go to that game.
Northampton Ulster. Where is it?
Franklin's Gardens.
Franklin's Gardens. Yeah.
When did the restrictions lift? France?
After that,
Yeah.
sadly.
It's a real shame.
Give me Ulster.
Yeah, I think Ulster. I think Ulster are going to win this.
I think Ulster as well. Although, again, the spirit Northampton showed, I would not rule them out. They did so well to win that Dragons game.
Ulster winning that. I think it's going to be Ulster-Leicester final.
So what
I
is
agree.
in the semi-final will be a draw? So we're saying that it's going to be London Irish. I'm saying Bath, Leicester, Montpellier, Ulster. That's a pretty tidy.
hang
That's a
on.
pretty tidy.
Montpellier
last four.
still in that.
Montpellier are, but Montpellier, they've got all this talent, but they're weak. They're weak-willed. They
Weak-minded.
lose big games.
Any other business? Any other TV shows you've been watching that you'd recommend?
I'm watching so much Grand Designs at the moment. I'm obsessed with Grand Designs.
Well, I built a digger,
Another digger.
Excavator,
an excavator. Yeah, I built a. Can't even say the name of the brand now.
Lego Technic.
Liebherr.
Oh, right.
A Liebherr 9800 Tim.
Sorry.
Yeah, very very proud of that. I'll be coming down to the Rugby Dungeon soon, and I'll be shouting at the kids. It's not a toy, over and over again.
You can help me with my own Grand Design with that excavator.
I absolutely can. It's bloody enormous.
One show I really like, by the way, I really like Naked and Afraid, but it's a weird one to watch when
Is that a reality show?
when one of your kids walks in and says, "What are you watching?"
What is it? I've never even heard of it.
It's really good, and it's not
Are they afraid?
it's not gratuitous in the way that it sounds. It's like a survivalist type show. You get two wannabe kind of survivalist types, and they get dropped in the middle of somewhere on Earth in a really inhospitable place, like in the
Anytime soon, you can watch that on YouTube, which is great. And
Did you swoon? You're a big Bayliss fan.
I tell you what, I'm a big Bayless fan, and he's a lovely boy. Lovely boy.
Some man as well.
He is. And the other one is Will Evans, who will be on
Ah, nice.
sometime midweek.
Yeah. Who's your archetypal 7 in the traditional system?
Yeah,
But
be an 8 in
an
my
8
system.
in the new back row system.
Contact techchasers@gmail.com. Your emails, your thoughts. We'll have to do another Q&A pod. We do a monthly one, and it's now the start of the month, so
you're
we'll have to
going
do
to
that.
be taking home that dragon shirt, and you're going to be taking home that listing them to the appropriate people.
And we'll do the podcast as well.
Perfect.
And we'll do a Q&A podcast soon. So contact techchasers@gmail.com, at JBeardmore. I'm at Cocker. We're at Rugby Podcast. Hit subscribe on YouTube.